Hey, how you guys doing tonight? Whoa, I got echo. Great to see you guys once again on the official Party Hog Road Story Show. Coming to you live from the Party Hog basement here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Shot out of a cannon today. Even shaved for you guys. What the hell? You know what the best part about doing this show is, boys and girls? We don't have to wear pants when we do it. Ha ha. So it's your guess as to whether I'm even wearing pants right now or not. So anyway, cheers to you. Welcome to the show here tonight. Actually, we can't do a cheers without doing this. Here, look at this. This is the best tequila on the planet, kids. Casamigos. That's George Clooney's autograph on there. Like, that's a reason to buy it. But I tell you, this stuff's pretty damn good here. So let's get her going here. That's tequila, by the way. Yeah, I drink tequila on the rocks. That's weird. So are you. Anyway, my name is Mike Braniff. You may know me as the Party Hog. And anyway, let's do this quick. Cheers to you guys. Thanks for tuning in tonight. All right. Should have let it cool down a little bit first there. So, hey, welcome to the program here tonight. Put my little bug up there. Look at that. The Road Story Show. Professional. Geez, you think I would have brushed my hair or something for this? Oh, well, that's the way that rolls. Okay. We're going to check it out here. Loading the comments. Going to see who's out there. Now, before we get going here, I'd like to remind everybody that the Party Hog Road Story Show is brought to you by Fortification Security Solutions. My good buddy and brother, Fort C. McMurray. You need any locksmith needs, anything, any keys cut, anything like that, he is your guy. Get a hold of him. There's his website right there, Fortification Solutions. Fortification Security Solutions. You know him, you love him. He's Fort McMurray. That's his real name. He's a good guy. So once again, we'd like to thank him for sponsoring this program here, keeping us on the air. Basically, what he's doing is he's paying for that, and that pays for my subscription to stream this shit to you guys. So you want to bear with me for 1 second here, because I really would like to share this on my own page. And there we go. We're now on live on my own personal page as well now too. So what I'm going to do here is get started here with the show tonight, show number 8. Can you believe that? 8 of these things? God! I know what you're thinking. When is Party Hog going to get a real job again? You're not the only one in this house who's thinking that. Let's just put that way. Anyway, let's get on with the show here. Now, I know this is what I've been doing the last few weeks. I skipped it last week with my guest, Henry Small. Thanks again to Henry. Great show last week, buddy. But this is what I've been doing. I've been running my top 10 list of my best gigs and my worst gigs. And I just want to quickly get these ones going here. Top 10 best gigs of all time for me. Well, I'm up to number 5 on the list now. And yeah, that's the date. Bella Coola, British Columbia, Halloween, 1983. And the reason this is one of my best gigs that I ever did was because this was the very, very first night I ever dressed up as Ozzy. This is the first night I ever did Ozzy. I played Ozzy in a tribute band for years, and being that it was a Halloween gig, we just, fucking microphone. I dressed up as Ozzy. We drew a little tattoo on me and all that kind of stuff. Now, not much makes that the best gig other than that being the first time I ever dressed up as Ozzy on stage in Bella Coola of all places. Now we'll get to this part. Top 10 worst gigs of all time. Where do you think I'm going with this? Back to Bella Coola. Same gig. We spent 2 weeks there. Now, when we got there, you had to go to Williams Lake and then drive near Alexis Creek, which is just a little bit west. And then it was about a 2-3 hour dirt road drive to the west coast of British Columbia, Canada. And when we got to the sea line, the end of the earth, basically, there was an 18% grade downhill for, I think it was, I want to say 3 or 4 kilometers. A switchback. Dun, 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 dun. Well, we get there and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, pitch black out, and it's foggy of all things. This is a 1-lane dirt road down the side of a mountain, zigzagging back and forth. The only room you had for 2 cars was at the end of each exchange when you got to the end and you started to turn around and go the other way. So if somebody was coming up, you had to, either one had to back down or one had to go forward, and then you turn around to the corners. Short story long, here we are going down here. You know, we got a sober driver, and the rest of us are a little bit on the way, right, and having a couple of beers. But we start going down the hill, and we can't see shit, man. I mean, it is just blacked out, foggy. So we thought, well, the headlights aren't even working. We're not going to fall off this cliff. We're not driving off the cliff. So I remember we turned off the headlights and turned on our 4-way flashers. So we just had the orange, and we could see, but then you couldn't. And then you could see, and then you couldn't. So here I am, literally rolling down the passenger side window, and I'm reaching out, and I'm like tapping the rocks and the brush as we go by to make sure that we're still touching Mother Earth here and not about to slide off the end of it. Anyway, we finally get in, we get checked in, we do the Aussie show, and I just want to tell you one other story. There was a guy named Relic. You might remember Relic from the Beachcombers. He was your typical loud fisherman. He had 1,000 stories, and none of them were true. But he had a thing for unloading his nose on the carpet wherever he was in the bar. Just he'd be sitting there and we'd be listening to his bullshit, and then he would just kind of be looking you straight in the eye, and he would go, "Frank." We spent 2 weeks dodging stuff on the floor. It's just gross. The guy was disgusting. Anyway, cheers to you out there. Hey, following from Cape Breton tonight. Hi, Terry. How you guys doing? Charlotte, Glenn Harder. Look at all those people tuning in tonight. Cheryl, Elan, Everett, Lori. Good to see you guys here tonight. So there we go. That's the end of my top 10. Well, I better not screw. Too used to crinkling up the papers. I really need these for the show tonight. So anyway, that's how that kind of rolls along. Oh, there we go. I think I'm just kind of changing my format a little bit there. There we go. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get on with the show here. It's 10 after 8. I know I started a couple of minutes late today, but I mean, hey, musicians are late with their kind of stuff. So, you guys can't see what I can see yet. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you my next guest here tonight for this week's show, and a friend of mine for quite a few years now, and I remember seeing these guys in the bar when I was a young impressionable kid, and just freaking right out. And then I was lucky enough to play with this guy one day down the road in a band. It was just a pleasurable experience, and I can't believe he's here. It's just going to be awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome to the Road Story Show here tonight my special guest, Mr. Keith Retson-Spalding. Oh, my God, Keith.
Hey, Mike, how's it going, man? I thought I'd just better be ready just in case someone out there is using the 5G network. They don't
Jesus, you're still getting over that COVID thing, aren't you?
Well, I've had it now for 16 years.
16 years?
Well, that's one of the symptoms they told me was a small penis, and I think I've had it for 16 years. So
oh, Jesus. Well, I better get checked then too.
Are we on 5G or not?
Well, I don't know, man. I think we are on 5G, but I don't think we have anything to worry about because
I'm going to take this off now because my dog thinks I'm someone else. All right.
How you doing, Keith? Good to see you, buddy.
That feels better. Hang on.
Oh, man. Here we go.
Woo!
Woo!
Yeah, that's how I go to the grocery store now.
Keith Retson-Spalding. That's really...
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited to have you here today. This is going to be cool. I've learned a couple of things about you in the last couple of days I was unaware of, and there's a lot of. I'm looking forward. This is great, man. It's good to see you. Oh,
the prison thing wasn't my fault, man.
Well, yeah. Did you wear those gloves in prison or?
Oh, these.
Oh, yes, these.
Those are my special circumstances gloves. Yes. I said circumstances.
Circumstances.
There we go. That's better.
Looking good, buddy. How are things?
Hey, you too. Well, things are good. I'm. It's a new world out there, and I've been sitting in my basement plotting the demise of the cruise industry. I don't know how I could have done it any more succinctly or any more efficiently, but somehow I just got to the top of the cruise ship thing and they stopped. So I think the world is trying to tell me something.
God damn it. Yeah. You get to the pinnacle of that thing and then hey, not so fast. You back of the line.
You back to that warehouse job you never had.
Jesus, man. So anyway, yeah, that's got it. Well, I know I usually have a rule on the show. The rule is no politics, no COVID, no bullshit. But we got something special we're gonna talk about a little bit later on here tonight.
Excellent.
We're gonna bring that up. So we're gonna break the rules a little bit here tonight because it's my show. I can break a rule if I want, right?
Exactly. I want to say thanks for having me. By the way, you're an awesome job at this. This is great. You should do this for a living.
Well, I will if it pays one day.
Either that or sell guitars, because look behind you. You've got a fantastic array of instruments. Yeah, look at that.
That one black one, I actually pawned that off for gas money to go to a gig in Fort McMurray about in the year 2000, and I went in about 4 years later to go look around, and there's my old guitar. It's still hanging there, and I go to the guy. I go, hey man, how much for that guitar? He goes, I don't know. Give me $50. I don't know where this piece of shit came from. I don't know. A left-handed strung right-handed. He goes, I don't know what this. I'm like, oh yeah, I might be interested. I'll take that off your hand. I gave him $50. So I mean, I actually made money on the thing. I think I got $165 for it when I cashed it in at the pawn shop. But it's still got the pawn shop sticker on the back. It's like
worth it, man. How was the trip to Fort St. John? You go ahead. No, we can't talk about that.
No. Yeah, that's right. All right, there we go. Now, I got a list of questions here.
Okay.
Now, you and I have had lots of conversations and stuff. We shot the shit a lot there, so it's a little weird for me to kind of be asking you questions in an interview thing, but I'm gonna roll with it. Oh, wait a sec. You got a drink there, don't you?
I do.
Let's go, buddy. Cheers.
Ready?
To you, man.
It's my special brew, coffee. I'm trying to stay awake. Yeah.
You're a good guy. I'm just a tequila man, a no beer.
Well, I had I got off the last cruise contract, and they made me drink every single day, and I'm talking like they all buy cards and they get drinks for a flat price, and the cruise line, once they sell you the card, doesn't care how many drinks you get. On Royal Caribbean, you can drink forever. On there's no maximum. On Carnival, they figured this out. There's a 15 drink minimum or maximum. After 15 drinks, you can't even buy a drink on a Carnival cruise. But on Royal Caribbean, all bets are off. So when they get about 1 a.m, they go, hey, wait a minute. I think that singer looks thirsty. And I think that singer probably needs some, a readjustment, because he's singing some of them songs with the right lyrics. Let's change that. So at the end of the night, the soldiers are all lined up. The shots are there, and I'm trying my very best to get back to my room without breaking any, serious rules. So
yeah, I guess
falling into the ocean.
Yeah, I guess passing out in the hallway or something, sleeping in a planter or something would be like a grounds for an immediate dismissal, wouldn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of things on a cruise ship you can't do. One of them is passing out in a planter with your own vomit on you. That's not suggested by anybody.
Peeing in an elevator, that kind of, I couldn't make it in time,
Yeah, that's right.
So, all right, let's get on. So I got to ask you, let's start off at the beginning, man. Where were you born and raised, Keith?
I was born in a small place north of Vancouver on Vancouver Island called Port Alice, British Columbia, which I found out after I tried about 5-10 years ago to get my birth certificate. And I found out that the hospital that birthed me basically had its demise in a landslide. There's no record of my birth, so I couldn't get a birth certificate. But they wouldn't refund my money. So that was great. So they said, sorry, we can't find that document. And by the way, we're not giving you your money back. So that's great. Port Alice, BC. And then I moved from there to, strangely enough, to Edmonton, Alberta when I was a baby. I didn't remember this. My parents told me this later. This is a strange story for the people that haven't heard. I don't want to bore you to tears, but I was probably 1 or 2, 3 years old, and I moved to Rossdale, downtown. Yeah. Right by the ballpark. And I was only there for about 6-8 months. My grandma looked after me, and then we went to Toronto, and that's where I grew up. But I came back to Edmonton years later after the clique broke up, and we were looking for a house, my first wife and I. and we moved into a house in Rossdale. And we moved into the house right next door to the house I was raised in.
No,
and
shit.
my mom came to visit me once in Rossdale and said, yeah, that's the house you were that you stayed in. And I said, get out. That's Stu and Janice's house. Stuart was the keyboard player for Katie Lang and the Recline. So I knew him very well. We went to the door. We walked over with my mom, knocked on the door, said, Stuart, she thinks she used to live here. And she walked in and told him where all the rooms were. He went, yep. They took out the title, and there, sure enough, was my grandfather's name.
No way.
This is Twilight Zone stuff, man.
That's cool. That's really cool.
So I was there till I was about 3, and then we moved to Toronto, and I grew up in just outside of Toronto, Pickering, and then I moved into the city with my parents, and that's where I got into music. So I was basically my grade 7 choir. A music teacher told my parents that you got to get me into something musical. So they put me into St. Simon's, which was a professional choir. They paid you to sing. And it was a great musical education because all the people who were involved, the organists and the choir master, they're all serious musicians. There was some phenomenal players and singers in that little organization. We did a bunch of stuff. We toured England and we did albums and we did concerts and stuff like that. We sang with the TSO. We did the annual Messiah sing-along at the Massey Hall. So I played Massey Hall many times before, as a musician with the Canadian brass and a whole bunch of really legit classical people. And then I ended up in high school at Jarvis Collegiate, where at the end of my grade 13 graduation, the National Ballet School invited me to be one of the performers. Can you imagine me in a tutu, Mike?
Not
No.
not without a couple more of these,
Yeah, I'm just starting to notice this, Mike. This is like the worst before and after picture on the screen right now. This is what happens to you. Mike's the before, and this is if you drink and go on the road. This is what happens to you. You look like this guy on this side. So for people who don't know, Mike and I have done a double meatloaf before. We got on stage at the Dueling Piano Bar in Edmonton, and we sang. People were doing this. There's 2 meatloafs up there.
Meatloaf in stereo, yeah. Like what the hell's going on?
I guess it's meatloaves.
Yeah,
meatloaves. There's 2 meatloaves up there. Yeah, it was great.
I used to get that when I was playing down the street, Bourbon Street there in West Edmonton Mall. I'd get people coming in and watching me play it and going, "Hey, didn't we just see you down there?" I go, no, that's my brother, man. That's my brother, man.
I would tell people that, yeah, man, I can't make enough money here because the tip jar is like it's overflowing, and I'd say, no, we're not making enough to Bourbon Street or to the Sherlock's, and I have to play guitar. They won't let me play guitar here. Yeah, it was the good old days.
Like I'm gonna jump ahead here a little bit. I gotta ask you, like, man, when those, it would be so funny. I'd see 4 or 5 very nicely dressed young ladies come in.
4 or 5,
and they would be in a little group, and the first stop as they came into West Edmonton Mall was my bar, Sherlock Holmes, which is to the right. They would stop in and have a little pre-drink. Right. And they would watch me play, and I would be playing and doing my shtick, and I would, I like to change the lyrics to certain songs and that as well too. I would change the lyrics to a song, and man, it would be like, I'd get all that. This guy's gross. This guy's disgusting. They'd get that real sour puss look on their face. So they'd finish their drink. Let's get out of here. Then they'd go down to see you at the Red Piano. I'd go down on my break. I'd come walking in. I'd be standing at the back of the room, and I'm watching, and I'm hearing the song lyrics coming out of your mouth, and it's like way worse than what I've been doing.
Well,
and I'm like going, and they're like, oh, we love it, singing their bouncing. I'm going, what the fuck am I doing wrong here, man? I don't get it. Like,
see, you gotta realize when you walk into West Edmonton Mall, the first place on the right, they had the stage perfectly set in that place originally because you'd be right there. You were right by the door. So they go, oh, there's something happening here. They'd walk in, and remember, they're sober. They're blowing about 0.01 at this point, right? And they're going, oh, he's gross. Look how dressed up I am. This is too gross for my outfit. So they go down to the Red Piano. They get in probably for free because the bouncers, if they're good looking and they were in a group, I mean, they're getting in.
Yeah.
They get in there and they get to about 0.08. And then they start wanting the filthy rap songs. Like I couldn't make up stuff filthier than NWA. I couldn't do it. So, I mean, everything I was coming up with at that point, at 0.08 and above, they totally, And by the end of the night, those beautiful, well put together girls, one's got their t-shirt dress wrapped around her neck, her eyeshadows all like this, raccoons, and she's she's giving me the, yeah, no, mate. Yeah, no, mate. I don't know. And they leave them all. See, there was like 600 security guys that have to get by them out to the parking lot, right? So that was like, okay, that's a weekend at the Red Piano every weekend for 8 years. I'd see these beautiful girls come in, and you gave them, Mike set them up, blew them into our room, and I'd watch them leave broken heel, nylons are ripped, t-shirt, dress around their neck, telling everyone to fast.
What other, like, so you guys used to be done at like 1 o'clock, didn't you?
Well, we would go sometimes till 3.
Till 3,
sometimes, yeah.
I think there was. I recall there being some nights when it was like, some of the girls would leave your bar and they'd be just gooned, and they would come in and stop in one last time at my bar, but not to have a drink. They would use it to go in there and just have a quick pee.
Right.
So I would see drunken. This is gonna get me in trouble. I would see a drunken young nice girl do on her high heels, walking like drunken Bambi, and she'd end up back and she'd go into the thing and have a pee, I guess, and then she'd come out of the bathroom a couple of minutes later, and I'd be halfway through a song and I'd just say, hey, you. This isn't a public bathroom. You can't go drink $200 at another bar and then come here and pee, lady. What the hell? At least you got to buy a drink. And they're like, fuck you.
In our bar, they didn't buy drinks. I mean, there's the 5 guys that were in that bar total for the whole night. And there was 300 girls. And the girls would leave because they'd go, nah, I can't compete. It was a bar full of women and about 5 guys with big, huge wallets buying drinks for everybody. It was a horrible thing. I don't know how I got through it.
There's a money-making machine in there. God, wasn't it?
Well, they had a vision, and I fought them on it at the beginning because I'm an idiot. Like a dinner club in West Edmonton in the mall. You have to buy dinner to sit down. And I didn't get that at the beginning. I thought, peanuts on the floor, dueling pianos. The research I'd done on the bars I'd played were all like really sort of hardcore, like, the Black Horse up in Fort McMurray. Yeah, and there's like all the pubs I'd ever played that were like that. The dueling piano thing works really well. But he was absolutely right. Packed every weekend, reservations for months to get in, and they let people in and around the pianos. So those are the people that felt, okay, they were lining them up at the door. People had seats, couldn't really see as well as the people around the piano. It was a strange thing, and they put that bottleneck in there on purpose so they'd have to stop by the bars on both sides. It was genius. That guy's a genius. Mo Blayway is a genius. I'm just telling you.
It's like Canada's John Taffer that way kind of thing, right? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's it ran for 8 years, and I think it dueling pianos, I gave it 3 years because it's a niche kind of thing, and it's everywhere else I've seen it in the States. They at one point, Howl at the Moon had like 50 venues in the States. They're down to like their top 6 or 7. Yeah. It's become a niche kind of very predictable kind of form of entertainment. And I'm glad I found the piano bar thing, the single piano bar, because it gives you back your freedom to do whatever you want. You're not beholden to an audience with 2 people, because it's like playing in a band when you've got a set list. Bands have 4 or 5 people, so it gets even more complicated. That's my Joint Chiefs memory was, and I played with Mike and the Joint Chiefs with Andrew. And my memory was we rehearsed for months and months in Titan Sound at our studio. And I was getting excited about playing in a band again. I thought, this is going to be fun. But it sort of started to drive everything into it's like a buffalo jump. All the buffaloes are going to end up jumping over at the end. But we're going to get this whole thing settled right down into this tight little format. And at the end of it, first night on stage, I think we were in one of those bars, the Pool Hall bar over in
the High Run Club.
The High Run Club. Yeah. And first note of the first night, I'm going, I remember why I don't want to be in a band anymore. I mean, it was fun and everything, but it was like the freedoms that I had to improvise and stuff like that. I really enjoy the single piano bar thing a lot more fun. And I think that's why cruise ships are so attractive, because they really Carnival has really honed that to a science. They've got it figured out. Request pads, everything's sort of set up so that you're focusing on the piano player. They got PA system everywhere. They give you a grand piano, playing a Yamaha C Series grand piano on every one of these ships. And you're basically doing 6 nights a week. So you get a crowd from Monday when you start the cruise to Saturday. And there's 3,000 people minimum on these ships. The last one was almost 10,000 people, like altogether. So you're going to see, even if you see 10% of that, you're getting a new audience and a bunch of people that are trying to gum it every night as well. It's like the old days in the rock clubs when Click used to play. We used to go to the Beverly Crest, and before we start, there'd be a lineup out the door, and you'd start with the crowd. It's not like this, oh, here we go again. We're going to have to build from 9 o'clock till 10:30, and then 10:30 is they're drunk enough to have fun, but by 1 o'clock they're too drunk. They're going to start fighting. Yeah, and that whole thing just doesn't happen on the ships, which is
And then the one more. Where the fuck were you guys 3 hours ago?
Yeah, exactly.
What the fuck?
Well, that's the thing on cruise ships. You get to that 2 o'clock. That's the dangerous part, because you got to do it 6 nights straight. You get one night off. So they get to 2 o'clock in the morning when you're supposed to stop, and they want 10 more, and they just keep. It's American money, throwing it in the tip jar, and it's really tough to tell someone with $20 American that no, I'm not going to play another song for you, because it's to me that's always been the gorilla in the room with dueling pianos and piano bars, like. Dealing with people and their tipping, you've got to do it so you're not begging for it, and you've got to do it so that people respect it. You understand that they're giving you money to perform a service here. And I get these piano bar guys all the time that just shit all over Sweet Caroline and Piano Man. They're not my favorite songs to play, but when an audience is digging it and screaming at the top of their lungs, it's the best song of the night. I mean, that's just the way it is. And I know we've had this conversation about songs that we should never, ever want to play again, but when you're getting paid like that, it just brings it all back to it's a whole other thing. It's the people in the room having fun, and you're just sort of conducting it. You're not really even singing it anymore. You're just you're there sort of having the time of your life. It's fantastic.
I tell you, Keith, I'm with you on that, because I mean, in my Party Hog show, I do Sweet Caroline, and I hate it. But all the lemmings are ba ba ba, so good, and Footloose is the other bane of my existence, that one too. But it's like Jesse's Grill, same thing. But
yes,
you gotta play them every night, and it's like if things aren't going quite good, it's like pull out the ace in the hole here, just bam, and away you go.
I find that those kinds of requests, I get them all the time. I get Piano Man. It's usually the first song on the table, because people walk into a bar, they see a guy playing the piano, they're going to do that. Now, sometimes they just want to make a point that they think that's kind of funny and that's kind of cute that they're requesting it, and they don't quite get that it happens every night. Some people do it ironically. Some people do it on purpose. To me, if you don't talk to the audience, you can't tell what the vibe in the room is. If it's done ironically and done as tongue in cheek, you can have a lot of fun with Piano Man. There's 16 different ways to play that song that will get people more excited about what you're going to do for real, and show them other parts of what you've got. Because I think if you don't give them a little bit of a taste of your bandwidth, and that's what I call it. If you just are going to be a piano guy, you're going to be playing all the Elton John stuff, all the Billy Joel stuff. But all of a sudden, I do a Jay-Z track, or I do something from an old rap song from, No Diggity, something like that. It changes the room. A lot of people who just came for hear the hardcore piano stuff, they go, oh, I don't want to, this guy's, but it will fill in with tenfold with people who don't just want to sit and listen to the same thing over and over again. They don't want the Sweet Carolines. And I have had nights where I challenge the audience. Can we make it to tonight without the trifecta of doom? Can we not have Piano Man? Don't Stop Believing. And can we not have Sweet Caroline? If we make it to the end of the night, I'm going to start walking out of here giving you your money back. I mean, I'm going to walk out and start handing tips back. It's like I should wear a change thing in my. Here you go.
Yeah.
But it's like people get all offended about, oh, they're asking me to play this song. They get really precious about their show. It's not my show. It has nothing to do with me, really. I'm just there. I'm the vehicle with which I'm going to make this room either come together, or they're all going to leave. And that's the worst thing you can do, is start with a full house, and halfway through you're half empty. You've done something wrong. So yeah. I save these. I have some right here. I save these, and people laugh at me for doing this. I have been saving these since the first night of I ever played dueling pianos. I take them home and I triage them into piles. One pile is I know this song and I play it all the time. Second pile is don't know this song, never heard of it. It'll probably never come back, but someone's showing off their musical taste. The third pile is the stuff I should know. And it usually breaks down to 80 to 15, 5. That's kind of how it's been going for me.
Yeah.
When we started the Red Piano, though, that ratio was 50-50. Half of the songs we were being asked to play, we didn't know. And we had to really quickly learn because we had a different makeup. We started with all the KG vet piano players, all the older guys who'd played like with really good musical credentials that could play anything, but really didn't have any entertainment chops like that were really ingrained. They were all more used. They could score a movie. They could, some great players went through that place. Yeah. And then we've kind of realized, wait a sec, there's more of a formula to this, and they're telling us what it is every night. And if we don't pay attention, we're going to be closed. And every musician I ever talk to that sits there and goes, oh, but man, how can you do that? You're selling out. Our band won't play anything but originals. Well, then your parents are going to enjoy those 6 boxes of CDs in your garage. That's great for you. Enjoy that, because that's not going to help you. That's not going to get you where you want to go. Even as a cover band, if you're not getting gigs, I mean, why are you a musician? Especially these days.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, some of us have figured. You've definitely figured it out. I'm about 80% there because I do get a little bit of an attitude some nights. If it's a Tuesday night, right. I don't want to play Sweet Caroline. If it's Friday night and the place is going crazy,
right?
It's here you go. But some people have that musician hat on, and others have the entertainment hat on, which is like, look, you're here to entertain the people that are coming. So many guys. They would say to me, oh, how is it you're working all the time? How is it you're always working? And I go, well, first of all, I'm very nice to the staff. Second of all, I listen to the audience, and I kind of, work with the audience. I don't throw at them what I want to play. It's more of a, what do you guys want? And I'll do it for you. And then when you make that connection, suddenly you find, hey, we want to have you back here another 5 times this year. And that's good for your bank account, right? So.
Exactly. Now you can, that was the thing. We would have completely different ideas about original music. We had a lot of original music in Click. Yeah. We never played it very often in bars because it was something that people didn't know. And to make the kind of money we were making as a cover band, to all of a sudden say, well, screw that, man, we're going to play our originals now. Yeah. We wouldn't last 3 weeks. We would have been out of the circuit. Our agents, Feldman would have fired us in a heartbeat because they knew we had this dynamic range. We did stuff that wasn't Bryan Adams, and we were doing Rush, and we were Queen and all that, Supertramp and all that stuff. Yeah. That was stuff that wasn't being played by a lot of bands. So we did that on purpose. Not because we loved to play this stuff, which was part of it, but because we looked at the market and went, well, there's 17 Reckless bands. Now that Adams has put out that album, they're all doing that stuff. Why would we go into Vancouver? And we fought really hard. We were kept out of Vancouver by the agents for quite some time because we wouldn't band. And our agent from Winnipeg, which Hungry Eye, was saying, no, they're not going to do dance music. They're going to do what they do. And if you don't like it, we got as far as Prince George a couple times and got scurried back to Alberta because they were realized, even Prince George wasn't ready for a full night of this kind of music. They wanted, okay, that's great for the first 2 sets, but how are the girls going to dance to Rush? Yeah. And so I was going, well, it would be worse if we were doing Rush and then we would break out the original music. I mean, that would have been torture for them.
Yeah.
And we believed in our original stuff. We had lots of it. And it was, we attracted the attention. Terry Brown was working with us for a while from Rush. And he pre-produced some of the stuff for us. We just couldn't afford to finish the deal because we didn't have the money. He wanted a lot of money, some points. And he just finished Cutting Crew. He just finished Died in Your Arms Tonight when we met him. Oh, and he came out to Vancouver and he had no idea we were a Rush cover band. No idea. So he shows up in Richmond at Gators and he's sitting in the front row. We see him come in. He sits down like this. And right as we start in the Rush set, and the look on his face, the smile just sat there on his face for like 25 minutes. And he said, I had no idea. But he had basically heard some of the stuff that was very Rush. We were doing a lot of long format stuff back then in our original stuff. And he'd heard that stuff, and that's the stuff he was interested in. But he also realized the reality of it was, well, I don't want to be the producer that only does this. He was trying to go a little bit more commercial. Died in Your Arms Tonight was his step out of that, I think. And he was a fantastic guy. Like, we went to his place in Toronto and hung out. He came to see us when we played Toronto. We did showcases in Toronto trying to get interest in the band originally. But it was 2 completely different things. Our original music had nothing to do with our cover show. Because we were making, like, you remember those days when bands were making $3,500. We were making $8,000 a week. You
guys were the kings of the circuit, man. You and Guy Jones, who had a tribute
yes.
show. To go, you guys were on the same scale money wise, and we were all, I was doing Aussie trying to get the money up there too, but it was like didn't matter. I mean, you guys caught. I mean, I saw you guys a few times, and it was just like, Jesus Christ, are these guys good?
Yeah, the players were just Randy and Tim and Al were just. It was really fortuitous to have met. I really regret not, just forcing everyone to just say, okay, look, we're going to stop doing covers for a while. We're going to stop doing covers for a while because we have to mine this. And a couple of times we had that knock them down, drag them out fight. But we didn't want to risk the 84 weeks of work in front of us because how many bands could say they were working into next year?
Yeah.
Back then. And we were doing tours that were all connected. We weren't doing the old days where we first came out to Alberta as Click. We came from Toronto. We were managed out of Kitchener. And they sent us to Brandon for 3 weeks. Then they'd send us to Thunder Bay. And then we'd go all the way to Saskatoon. Then we go to Moose Jaw. And they keep us out of the big cities. And then we finally, Feldman flew out to see us and said, we can fix this. But you have to keep doing, if this is what you're doing, I don't want you to get all like my other bands, my cover bands, and get all precious about the original stuff. This was a conversation. And it was okay. Oh, okay, I get it. Well, we'll do the best we can. He got our money up. He got the rooms right. And we finally got into Vancouver, which was, that was a real challenge. It took almost 2 years to break into there. And when we got there, we didn't want to leave. I ended up living there for a while. So did Al, and everyone sort of got comfortable out there. Tim's still out there. Al lived out there. I mean, Randy was out there for a while, but now he's in Berlin. But yeah, it was interesting.
That's and I recall that about the Feldman agency down there. There was a time I went through that as well too, where they literally handed you a set list and said, if you want to work for us, you play these songs. And it was
Absolutely.
Like, well, okay. And then so we had a week off, I remember, and we went to one bar, saw the band, and heard this song, and this song. And then we went to see another band, and it was like this song, and this song again. Right. I'm like, man, we're like 10 clicks away from the other band at another bar. They're playing the same set list.
Right.
And it's like, and it was no wonder in '92 when it all collapsed, when Billy Ray Cyrus hit with Achy Breaky and everything turned into a country bar in like 3 weeks. Boom, everything shut down,
Everyone blamed it on the disco and all this. I said, you guys, we were saying this 5 years before it ended. Like, if you don't do the work and change it up and do something new, we would go to the Rex and we'd look at the promo. Every single band had the same tight pants on, the same hairdo, the same skinny belts. And we'd go and see the show, same asymmetrical ACLs in the back, same set list, same drum solo. And you can just interchangeable people. And we were like, well, of course this isn't going to last because people are going to get bored. And I've been through it enough times now. Like same thing with dueling pianos. You can't just keep doing the same 35 songs and pick the request. I see this there, like, oh, look at this, we got Piano Man. Well, on top of Piano Man, they've got 35 other songs they're not going to bother to learn because that's not part of their thing. Mm-hmm. And some of the cruise lines do that, and they call it improvisational or they call it unscripted, but it's not. It's very much, if all of a sudden you're wearing the right costume and suddenly you're in the costume for the right request, how is that not scripted? I mean, I don't get it. So to me, it was like the old days in the rock band era. There was some great original bands that were touring around. We're always in that circuit. We were intermingling. We were on stage with Aldo Nova in Thunder Bay, and then there'd be a Harlequin show where we'd open, and there'd be a Kenny Shields show. And all these bands are still around because they had the foresight to put the record out and get off of the cover thing. But there was no encouragement from the agency to do that. They didn't want you to do that because they were making their 15, 20, 30% off you filling their bars up. So you had to make the decision to say, I'm going to stop this now, as good as this is, and I'm going to be brave enough to put our original stuff out there, even if it sucks. We're just going to be original band from now on. Click didn't have that. We didn't have that bravery. We were too addicted to the money, and I think we were too afraid to really put it out there and starve. And all the hats off to those guys that they're still doing it. I mean, they're still out there touring festivals and doing all that kinds of stuff. It's a big regret for me that we didn't just finally put our foot down and say no. But it's our own fault, Totally.
That's it's just weird how it all. You make
plans. Well,
same thing. Yeah, you think you got. Hey, we got a good direction going here, but it's like, are we going the same direction as everyone else?
Well, do you get asked on your gig? Do you get asked people ask you to do original stuff?
Occasionally, but I always looked at it like if I was doing my own personal gig, I would be more receptive to that, but doing a Party Hog gig, my character being that I'm the big drunken buffoon booze sales guy playing rock tunes. So it was like, again,
by the way, I'm gonna interrupt you right there. You're the best single act I've ever seen, man. I'm just telling you.
Oh, come on, really?
I'm not kidding. You are the shit. You're the total guy, and I think you're right. I relate to you in this because I think that you do the same thing. There's a very big difference between what you do as original artist, because I've heard some of your stuff. You played some of it for me, and what you do as a cover act. Never the twain shall meet. Now, if you ever were to release a record, most of the country doesn't know who Party Hog is. Yeah. You'd have a whole different publicist, a whole different story that you'd put into your original music, and people who knew you as Party Hog would go, "Oh my God, I had no idea." Right? Yeah. So that's the kind of reaction you'd want. I wouldn't want people to go, "Oh, I saw him doing that shtick 25 years ago." Yeah, yeah. I'm not. People keep asking, come back together, do what? Let's be a Rush cover band again for 25 years later. Like there already is a Rush, and they're pretty good. Even though they're not touring anymore. You don't want to see a cover band that was known to be a Rush come back and do Rush. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You know what, buddy? I want to circle back a little bit because I do have a couple of little clips that I want to bring forth here. Now, I want to know more about you being a young boy singing in a choir. Were you playing piano before you were singing?
Oh God, no.
Okay, so you were a singer first. So your first musical stuff was more in the singing range.
Well, when I started, before I got to Toronto, I was in Pickering, and my father worked at the power plant back there. Yeah. And my aunt was one of these crazy Scottish ladies who bought a piano, didn't know how to play, and she sat there at the piano making all these weird little one of those kind of things. And she just would get lost in it. Totally lost in it. And I'd go, "Oh my God, this woman," she always used to say to me, "You've got music in you. You should do something with it." So they tried accordion, door-to-door salesman, right? Knock on the door. "Hey, you want to learn the accordion?" And they put me through that for a couple of weeks. And I said, "No, stomach Steinway, not my thing." Then they put me to a church and taught me how to play the guitar, in a group of 15 people doing C, 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 G. I hated it. Didn't go back. So I got to Toronto, and that's when the choral teacher realized that, he has a pretty good sense of singing. And I really had never thought about being a singer. Then I got to the classically trained part, and the education I got there. I was reading at a university level when I was about 13, because we were doing sight reading every single week. We'd get a whole new set of material to learn for the week. We'd have to Tuesday rehearsal, Thursday rehearsal, and all day Sunday for years. And we would sing services in the church. We would also do concerts all over Southern Ontario as, paid concerts. And we would sing with big groups like the Mendelssohn Choir and the Toronto Symphony Orchestra and stuff like that. We were a fairly well-known paid professional choir. And that's where the piano thing came in, because one day I had a broken down upright in my basement that I used to jam with friends of mine. One of my friends was Blair Packham from the Jitters. He was a good friend of mine. And he'd come down and we'd sit there and we'd play. And the piano was missing a bunch of hammers and stuff because my sister pulled them all out. And we would sit there and play. And you'd have to imagine the songs, because it was like, Let It Be would sound like. That's what Let It Be would sound like. It was like, okay, I think that's Let It Be. So I got really interested in piano. And the Elton John album, Goodbye Albert Road, came out. And I tried to learn it just by ear. And I could sing everything. And there was no problem with that. But I bought the book to the church organist and said, "Play this for me." And it's like he had all of the songs. Like he had the Funeral for a Friend thing. He knew all. He just played it, and it sounded just like the record. And I went, "How are you doing that?" And he'd go, "Well, you got to take some lessons. You know what a C major scale is?" I said, "No." "Okay, let's start there." So he taught me enough that I knew nothing. And then I started taking lessons from people at the conservatory and hated it. And then I picked it up on my own. And piano was never really anything until I got in the band, and everyone else had a loan. Like the drummer had a drum loan and the bass player had a bass loan. And I was the singer. I'd walk in put my mic in there and go, "Yeah, let's go."
Let's go.
And they would look at me and go, "You fucker. You're the keyboard player." "Oh, am I?" So I went and bought an Oberheim for $7,000, a CP70 for $5,000. That CS50 that did the "Turn Me Loose" sound, because that was a big song. I bought like $15,000 worth of keyboards, and my dad co-signed for the loan. And all I really ever did was play those I would do those, and "Turn Me Loose," the opening turn. Look around the room, and I'm paying everything I make plus a little bit more every week just to become the keyboard player. And eventually, I kind of went one day. I went, I kind of like to write songs. So I sat down at my piano and I started to actually write. And I thought, oh, now I'm really into this. So I started to study and learn stuff that I liked. I was really into fusion at that point. It was like Weather Report and Jocko and Zawinul and all the really cool cats, and Keith Jarrett. And I couldn't play any of the stuff, but that was my goalpost. So if I could get down to Achy Breaky Heart, I'm totally in.
You're in. So now now this picture you sent me earlier here, this album cover, is this?
Yes, there it is. There it is. Look at that guy on the right. Oh my God.
St. Simon Sings. That's for a guy with a lisp. That's a terrible album cover. St. Simon Sings.
Yes.
Suffering soul sounds are stirring my soul.
Sylvester the Cat.
Now, you singing in the choir. Now, did you say you were like one of the lead?
Well, I started out as a probation. In that choir, you start at probationary level, where you're just basically, you're not really singing during the services or the concerts, but you're sitting up there with the surplice and the cassock on and pretending to mouth words. They don't let you sing. They would discourage that incredibly. That the choir master was one of those choir masters that would throw a hymn book at you if you're doing something wrong in the middle of a show. He was a taskmaster. We'll get back to him in a minute because he turned out to be a little bit of a strange one. So we would sing services, and we're learning 15, 20, 30 pieces a month. Like that's the kind of, and sight reading. So you had to watch them the whole time. And this is what you had to do. You had to sight read and always be watching the conductor. If you took your eyes off him, you could get hit. Like, I'm not kidding. He'd whip something at you.
Wow.
So it was like this real interesting thing where I was going, I want to be better at this. I don't want to get yelled at. And that was the sort of the way I learned music. And then I kind of got to the point where like, okay, well, everyone in this choir is afraid of this guy. So let's take this to where its natural progression was, am I going to love music at the end of this or hate it? I love classical music, but I hated that kind of approach. So when I took on music on my own, I didn't want any pressure like that. So the conservatory system had I just didn't want to do it because I had piano teachers like that. Hit you in the hands if you were playing it wrong, or tap you in the back if you were, give you a shove if you weren't sitting properly. That's the kind of shit that turns people off music. And people ask me all the time, like, how do I teach my son piano? Can you teach him? And I go, I'm the worst teacher in the world. But you should find someone who loves to teach, not maybe the best piano player or the best singer, but someone who loves it. And teaching is one of those things. You got to find the right person to inspire you. If you go too hard on them, they're going to think of it as a chore and a task. If you don't go hard enough, they're just going to take your money, buy a piano, and it's going to sit there with clothes on it for the rest of your life. It'd be like the treadmill in your basement. You don't want that either. So there's a happy medium.
It's about 4 feet to my left here, taunting me. The treadmill. That's good advice because, like, when I was 8 years old, my parents saw that I had a little thing for my dad's guitar. Mm-hmm. I grabbed it. Of course, I was playing it left-handed and upside down because that was natural to me. And they said, okay, well, let's get lessons. Let's take him up to the corner there in Coquitlam and get him in at a music teacher. And I tell you, he forced me to play right-handed the normal way. Right. It was awkward and uncomfortable. And every time I made a mistake, he had a little red pencil. And he would whack. No, finger there. Whack. No, there. See? Whack. And I'd go home crying. Yep. I don't ever want to play the guitar again. Yep. I hate this guy. I don't want to go back. And I didn't touch a guitar for another 7 years after that again. Wow. I didn't want to go near it. I wanted to be a musician, a singer, anything but do the guitar again because I thought my back-assward way of playing it was wrong, and I was told it was wrong.
How did you come up with that? I always wondered that, man. How did you just one day go, this is how I want to play? There would be no example of that in your
the
world.
earliest example I have is I think I'm about 3 or 4 years old, bud. And there's a picture of me at my birthday. I was born on my grandmother's 50th birthday. So I was her first grandson, 50 years old. And it was just, so we shared a birthday party in Hume Park in New Westminster, just off of Sapperton there. Mm-hmm. We would go there for our birthday. And there's a picture of me and my grandma. And I was handed a plastic toy guitar. And right out of the gate, I'm playing it left-handed. I think mentally my mind went, my right hand should be holding the guitar neck and doing all this.
Right.
Because that's my dominant hand, and my stump just has to hold a pick and go do. It that's never made sense to me to have my dominant hand doing the pick and my struggling hand to do all the work. It was like, this is stupid. Why doesn't it go this way?
You're absolutely right.
Sense. People say, oh, you're left-handed. No, I'm right-handed. That's why this does all the work, and the stump just strums along. Like, so it never made any sense. Like, but then, of course, I did get a true left-handed guitar. And I had to redraw all the chord diagrams in my grade 8 guitar class. It got to be a pain in the butt. So eventually it was like, this is a true story. I was 15 years old. I was at a party and we had a few drinks and I was learning about girls. And some girl kind of goes, she goes, oh, you're a singer. Here's a guitar. Why don't you play a song for us? And I'm like, I wasn't going to go, well, it's not left-handed, Of course, because then I'm thinking, I'm never going to lose my virginity with that line. So I was like, I just went, yeah, sure. I grabbed the guitar. I held it left-handed, and I went, there's the E minor. That would be the D and the G. And I'm like, well, it's upside down, but I figured the 3 chords out, and I played a couple of songs, and, I think I got a kiss. That was about it. But, but that was it. On your way, right?
You've actually nailed the complete idea behind why most people are musicians. And if I could have dragged a grand piano out to a campfire when a girl said, can you play this song? I would have fucking got up there and pushed the thing down the hill and sat there and go, yeah, I know the C major chord. Watch the skit. I would have done that. I would have.
Or woo doo 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 doo. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, God. Now I got a piece of music. I got a clip. I want to circle back to that time again. Not too many people. This really surprised me when you let me know this. There is a movie that came out in 1974. It is a turd of a movie, but it had a lot.
Sandberg, man.
No. I'm talking the earlier one.
Oh,
70s one. Yeah. This is. I didn't mind the Andy one, but no. This is the. I want to play a clip. You were involved in this movie, singing on the soundtrack, and that just blew me away because I recall seeing the commercial come on TV for this movie when I was a kid. I would have been 9 years old, and it scared the shit out of me when I saw this commercial. It absolutely terrified me. This movie came on TV a couple of months ago, and I'm like, that's that movie from God, I've never seen it. I'm going to watch it. Like, I got halfway through, and I'm like, God, what a, Margot Kidder and Andrea Martin and
Olivia Hussey and there's
the guy from 2001, the astronaut there, and John Saxon, the guy who just died not too long ago too. But I want to play. I just want to play a little bit of the clip because now you sang in the choir on the soundtrack for this.
Yes,
so
it was a recording session for an album we were doing, a Christmas album, and we'd done a bunch of them. And they cherry picked. We thought the recording session was done at a big, huge cathedral down in Toronto. I believe I'm remembering this correctly. We had a full regalia orchestra and full choir, and it was a typical mics everywhere, lots of technicians trying to get this thing. They recorded like 15 or 20 songs for this record, and we thought, well, we were told that this was going to be on the album. Well, we thought they were going to use the whole thing was going to be our soundtrack. Well, it's one song, and it's "O Come All Ye Faithful," which is weird because we'll talk about the choir master after
Okay, well let's play the clip here. Let's see if anybody remembers this horrifying movie from 1974. Here we go.
Great editing. This is really good cuts here.
Keir Delay, he's the space guy, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And that's Bob and Doug McKenzie's girlfriend from Strange Brew. That's right.
That's right.
That's right. She played, yeah.
Margot Kidder.
But
Wow.
and the late John Saxon.
Yeah. This was a fairly popular movie back in the day.
It was. Well, I think because of the commercial, because this scene right here.
Yeah.
Man, I am still getting a reaction to this.
Yeah, I
Seeing
have
that. I really like that. Just freaks the crap out of me, man. God.
We didn't know this was going to be on the. We had no idea that any of that music was going to be on the record until after the film was released. It was picked, obviously, when I went through the other process with the Hollywood guys. When my partner in the studio, Dave Petavar, and I were writing songs for. It was basically a compilation DVD CD collection that they sent to the Hollywood studios, and we were two keyboard players sitting in Titan Sound writing keyboard stuff that had no lyrics on it. And David called all his songs TS1, TS2, DS1, Dance Song 1, Dance. It was like that kind of stuff. He had 15 or 20 of these things we sent down to Red Engine, and they shopped it to all the studios. So the fact that, that's how the process works. You have no idea when you're doing it. You're just submitting songs. And then Hollywood decides, they listen to, that's the right vibe for, a lot of the songs that we sent down there, a lot of Dave's stuff got played on Entertainment Tonight, and a lot of the soap operas, like Young and the Restless, we'd get 20 seconds of this and 20 seconds of that. He's got these checks that are like all this plays that he's got from all these different bumpers from all these different shows. And they're 20 cents here and 30 cents here, but it adds up. He's got hundreds and hundreds of credits on these compilations. And it was a real eye opener, because when I think back to that day, I'm sure that's exactly what they did. All these songs were picked, and they just went through the album and went, that's the one we're going to use. We need something thematic for this Black Christmas. And Oh Come All Ye Faithful. We're on the thing that made us happy was we were on the same album as King's College Cambridge, which was in terms of musicians doing what we did for classical music, King's College Cambridge was the touchstone for us. That was the thing we modeled ourselves after. Mm-hmm. And we actually, on the tour of England, got to sing there. When we did the song, we sang a whole tour of England for about 3 weeks. As a kid, I was the head chorister. That's when I was the head chorister. And we sang at Winchester, or at Westminster Abbey, where the Queen, we met the Queen and the royal family, Queen Mum, and all that stuff. And we sang services there, sang services at John's College, Cambridge, and King's College. So when we were, we're on the same record as King's College, Cambridge, it'd be like you and I being on the same record as Led Zeppelin.
That's cool.
It would be like that. Would be, So this is the whole thing before I was even, I was still in university when I finally started getting on the road with rock bands. I was still doing classical music, and I made that bifurcation into, I don't want to do classical anymore, because the next step for me was opera. And I love opera, but I don't want to sing opera. And I was done with classical music because I started to really enjoy, like, all the singers back then, if you recall, and you do, because you love them like I do, all the guys that could sing. The Robert Plants and all the guys that could sing high and really, really well. The guy from Boston, Brad Delp, these guys were influences. And you had to know how to sing back then. I just watched the new Cardi B video and, what the heck is that all about? There's no singing anymore. It's just production for the sake of production. It's like,
I got a surprise for you. We found a clip from your performance at Westminster Abbey singing for the royal family here. Let's go to that clip. Okay. Actually, Sure. What's that? Oh, I'm sorry, Keith. I'm told we don't have that clip, man. Jesus.
That's too bad. Looking forward to that. That would have been something. That
gets the Price is Right thing there. So damn it. So okay, now what was your first band gig? That's got me curious. What was your first real rock band gig? Where, when, how did it go, man? These are always good.
Well, this was a strange thing. I played in around with other people, but we never got into any gigs. When I got my first real gig, I auditioned for a band called the Great Dames. 3 girls up front, a killer jazz band in the back, a trombone player, a guitar player, a bunch of complete misfits, and kimonos and theatrical sets and the whole thing. And I did a tour with them, and I thought, well, this is, I've done a couple of really bad gigs that were very much like that. It's all a very muddy mixture of, oh my God, what was I thinking? But the one that, my really first rock gig coming out of university, the one that ended my university career 2 years early, was a guy named Bobby G. Griffith. He was a black Ukrainian from Kenora, Ontario, who sang country music, and he did original music. And the band was, again, like John Erlinson, the bass player, was the brother of a jazz piano player from Toronto, like total credentialed guys and girls. And the drummer was one of these cats that could play anything. So they hired me to play keyboards for this guy as the backup band. And the band was called Sphere, I think it was called. We would play the opening before Bobby came down. And Bobby was one of these cats that you could write a movie about this cat. I got the record that he did in the mail just before we started rehearsals. And on one side was his stuff, and on the other side was another artist altogether. That's his record deal. He didn't really have a full-on record deal, but he hit a couple of songs. The Badgers song, which was a really cheesy, crappy Vegas song. Give My Love to Lady Canada. And it was, and he had the outfits. He had a afro, and he would come out and he'd do like a Sammy Davis Jr. kind of thing. And he was a really cheesy guy, but that was the era when the Tiki Room, where there was a Tiki Room in every town.
Yeah.
Saskatoon had one. Regina had one. That's my first gig. I flew out to Saskatoon. I get on stage, and everything's bamboo and tiki, and it's all South Pacific. And this tiny little stage. We get on stage. We start playing. First night, I don't know what to expect because Bobby Griffith never rehearses. He's this mystery guy who is going to come up. He would show up to the rehearsals dressed in street clothes, and I thought he was the help. I thought he was just a guy cleaning up after. And he'd be humming, and he'd look at us, and he'd listen to what we're doing, and he'd leave. I never heard him sing. We get on stage that first night. We start playing whatever we're doing, some Lou Rawls or whatever, and the vamp is "You'll Never Find That," one of those kind of things. And we're vamping for like 5 minutes, and then John, who's played with him for years, goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Bobby G. Griffith." And I sat there with my mouth open. I could not believe how freaking entertaining, how charismatic, how fantastic this guy was. He had the room mesmerized for the 35 minutes he could sing. And then he'd take a break. We'd do the second set. He'd come back on, finish the night, go to his room, put down a 40 ouncer, and go to bed every single night of his life.
Jeez.
Yeah. And it was like, I learned a lot about how to entertain an audience from that guy. I owe him a lot. He wasn't a great singer. He had maybe 30 songs in his whole repertoire. 10 of them were his own stuff that he was known for. And I really didn't have any idea how good this guy was until I played with him. And then we went back to Kenora and played the arena. Like 3,500 people showed up to love this guy. And he was a well-known figure out in that part of the Northern Ontario. And he was the most interesting cat. The worst thing you could do is play poker with him. He would take everyone in the room for everything they had. He knew how to read people. He would sit there, deal the cards out, and go, "That's a pair. Man, you're looking at trips. You have a flush possible. You're on a straight draw." And he was right. Like, he was one of those guys. He just mystical. But he was just smoked 3 packs a day, drank all the time.
Oh my God, eh?
And, this is the gig. This is how this gig ended for me. We ended up to North Battleford. And that was the city compared to where we ended up on that tour, because we were kept, playing these tiny little towns outside the big cities as well as the big cities, Saskatoon, Regina. Then we'd play Meadow Lake for 2 weeks.
Oh,
and yeah, I know. Here's the catcher, right? We're playing as the band. It's the same show every night, pretty much, with a couple of changes here and there. But we get to Meadow Lake, and the girl in the band, who's married to the bass player, says, "Oh, by the way, we're gonna do a clown show for them. Which clown would you like to be?" And I went,
"What?
Are you kidding me?" They all had clown outfits with the noses and the makeup and everything. And they did this amazing kids show. And we were supposed to be a part of this. I was like, this is not the rock and roll fantasy I was sold. I want to be out there with a flying V on doing this.
Yeah, exactly. A little hey mama, hey kiddies.
So they had this whole other thing, and they made, it was their thing. They were fantastic musicians, and I really liked playing with the drummer. Was one of my favorite drummers. He was a really interesting guy. Taught me a lot about music that I didn't know about, and introduced me to things like Steely Dan and things like that. That I, to this day, he influenced that part of my learning, which was jazz that I can understand and play. Right? Yeah, I love jazz, but I can't play it. Never could. So I went from that, and we started a band. In the Great Danes was after that, and Great Danes toured on Montreal. We went up the East Coast. I did the East Coast a bunch of times because out in Ontario, if you're a band that's starting out and the agency's booking you, well, they get you tight by sending you to the Rock. It's like our Slave Lake out here, and Prince George. They send you to Newfoundland around September, and they knew that the ferries wouldn't run half the time. You wouldn't be able to get off the Rock, so they just keep touring you around there all winter long until you could finally leave. And we got tight, and band came back, and we went to Prince Rupert with the Great Danes, and the band broke up in the middle of a 3-week gig, and the hotel wasn't going to pay us. We put everything in the van, drove back to Toronto, and started Click. That was the original guys. Me, Dave Carruthers, Peter Sanderson, who ended up playing, I think, with Jensen Interceptor, Pete, the bass player.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he was our original bass player, and the drummer Dave Carruthers, and Rob Farnham, the guitar player. Al replaced Rob. That was the first genesis of getting into a little bit better player. Rob was a great, fantastic entertainer, really good guy, but Al was the guy that walked in, and he could do Alex Lifeson like crazy. Changed the direction. And then we got Randy, and soon after Randy joined, Pete quit because we were going a whole different way, and Peter was more of a field bass player, and I think Tim came along because he loved the way we were going, and we met Tim. So we had Calgary and Edmonton with Tim and Randy, and Al and Al was from London and I was from Toronto. So yeah,
it's a great promo and a great shot, you guys.
Isn't that great?
Now, you know what I did? I just realized that picture on the right of you guys.
Yeah,
I cut off a person in the picture. I thought he kind of looks familiar.
Yeah, you did.
And now I realized as soon as you said his name, Terry Brown, I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's Terry Brown, right. The freaking manager of Rush, man. He's supposed to be in that. He's just to the right of Al in that picture, and I'm like, I recognize, I'm like, who is that? He was. Oh well, this is all about Click today. So like, he's just some guy, Vancouver guy. Man.
That's backstage at Gators, and that's when we met Terry. Terry was their producer. He produced everything from, I think, second album through to Signals. So he did the turnaround. The album that we sort of started our whole Rush tribute thing because of was probably, we did a date with Kim Mitchell and Max Webster. They got back together for about a short year when Terry and Kim were getting along, and they had a sort of a reckoning, and they decided they were going to tour again. So we opened for them in Ballinger's and Kitchener, and Kim Mitchell, phenomenal guy, comes out during the sound check and he says, "Oh, I got this tape. I want you to hear it." He put it in our PA. We had the big, huge monster Philoshaves with the big subs, and it was big, huge hall. He puts on Moving Pictures, the first thing we'd ever heard. He'd had a Rush copy. He had a copy from the band. It hasn't been released yet. He put it on, and we just sat there and went, "Oh yeah, this is pretty good."
Yeah,
this will do.
You think so?
Hey, I could sing this shit. Up to that point, all the Rush stuff was like, I didn't like it because I didn't grow up listening to Rush. Tim and Randy and Al did, and whenever we'd be in a bar in like Calgary, Frankie and Johnny's, and all of a sudden they'd start Bytor and the Snow Dog. I had no idea what it was. I thought it was an original song, and Tim would sing it. And it's like, okay. And they knew every lick, every part. And I go, I should learn that one. It's pretty good. And then so slowly we sort of realized this stuff has probably got some legs. I should probably learn to sing like this. And that was how it all started. But the Kim Mitchell thing was a real turning point for us because we'd been back in Ontario losing money hand over fist. We just couldn't make a living back there. So we kept coming out west. And sooner or later, we stopped coming out east. We stopped going back home. And every time we come out back home, we'd lose enough money. We had to get parents to give us loans to get out of town again. It was bad. So out west, it was we were making crazy money. Back east, it was pay to play, right?
I got some promo pictures of you guys. This is I saw you and your band Click at Fram's, the Fraser Arms in Richmond.
Yes.
Now I the first time I'd ever seen you guys, I'd heard about how good you were and all that and stuff, and it was like, okay. And I remember somebody had told me, it tipped me off, man, if you want to get some good lines for the crowd, you got to go see these guys. So I literally brought a notebook with me that night, and I remember, oh God, like I told you this the other day, I said the first line, some guy said something to you, and you went, "Hey buddy, if cocks could fly, your mouth would be an airport," and I just wrote that down as fast as I could. Like, Jesus, that's a great line, And but then the Ford's there too, in the middle there, the Forge in Victoria. Now, I want everybody to pay attention to what's going on the right there, the Forge. If you look on that list there, Pete Ettinger, rest in peace. We lost Pete just a few days ago. Hell's Bells, Click, Trauma.
Yep.
Barney Bental. Then who's that band? Nirvana. Nobody's ever heard of them.
And you want to know something? They were the worst ones on the bill. And all those bands there, they were probably the least popular according to the bar manager.
Oh, they didn't go over very good.
Well, no, they were shoegazers. All the other bands were all professional entertainers, like Pete Ettinger, Hell's Bells. Those guys are great. Trauma, Vince, and those guys. Are you kidding me? One of my favorite bands. I've gotten played with them lots of times. Barney Bental. I mean, all those guys were great. And Nirvana was like, they had 17 songs and they were all staring at their shoes the whole time they were playing them. Like, and Fram's or the Forge is like a bowling alley downstairs.
Oh yeah. God. Really I got the Elvis room every time. the one with the raised bedroom. That plays at room 104. You could walk out your hotel room, walk 24 feet down the hallway, and you would be out on the sticky wicket patio outside. Right. So I could get out of bed. I'd walk 25 feet. I'd sit at a table and I'd have a beer and nachos and then go back to my room. It was nuts, man. I loved it.
That great little pub with the peanuts all over the floor and the really old floorboards.
The Billy Miner.
Yeah.
The Billy Miner pub. Dude, this is still, for my mind, one of the greatest. Fucking here, I gotta get this right here. No, I got us backwards there. Sorry, I know.
I don't know if I can do this. Okay.
Here, let me see. I'm getting all excited here now. Oh, what am I doing here? There we go. Special I remember sitting in that Billy Miner place, and it was like Peanuts, a tiny little. God, and the place has just got stuff all over. Yeah, it's just. But we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, this rubber spider, just out of nowhere, boom, drops down and hangs right in between me and my buddies there, and it's like, Jesus Christ, scared the shit out of us. And then we look at the bartender and he's laughing, and we realize that every table in the bar has a strategically placed rubber spider over it with fishing line going back to a hook line on the guy's thing behind there. He would take a hook and go like this and lower it down. So what we did was we spent the next 5 hours in there because we couldn't wait for somebody to leave, somebody new to come in, and we could watch them get all scared and freaked out. And still... For my money, the smartest marketing idea I've ever seen to keep people in your bar. Do that. It's like, oh, here's somebody else coming in. Watch this.
Right.
Oh, he's going for the wall. Watch this. He's gonna get. Oh, he scared the shit out of. Man, I love that gig. That was a great gig.
That place also had a tennis court. Yeah. On the roof. We would go play tennis in the afternoon because we were sophisticates. You know, we used to wear suits on stage, motherfucker. Just saying.
That's right. Yeah.
So we would go up there and play tennis in the afternoon, and it was like Victoria's at your feet outside. It was like a beautiful little town.
God,
go to the beach. You could walk 15 minutes to the beach there, and it was like when that place got packed, and you couldn't see everybody. You look out in front of you, you'd see all these people, and then to the right, there's another whole section, and the roof was so low that me at 5'8" could, I would have to watch my head getting on stage, and they put the park cans like right there.
That's right.
So it was like, it's like
barbecue.
All night long.
Yeah.
You're looking at car headlights. It looked like a drive-in.
This is pre-LED stuff, boys and girls. There's a 1,000-watt park can coming at you like a fucking heat lamp. God, you know what? I gotta bring up. We've had a couple of people mention here. What about the choir master? Yes. What about the choir master? Exactly. Whatever happened to the Twisted Choir Master? Sounds like a rock band name. Now, I know they're hanging on it. They want to know about the choir master, so let's drop that bomb, okay?
Well, back then, St. Simon's was an Anglican church choir, and it was very much inhabited by that's exactly that right. That picture right there is actually the place where we would sing. They're facing us, but they would split into two halves and face each other right there in that altar. And the choir master would stand right in front, and he would conduct. And he was a very well accomplished. He was very good at getting people to be afraid of him. So you learned music, and you didn't dare screw up out of just terror, especially when you were younger. Even he would do it to the older men too. It was a boys' choir, so boys and men together. And he was very chummy with the boys. Like Mr. Hansen was also a teacher. He would teach the boys choir. He scheduled them for, I think they were free. I don't think he charged for it. And so you'd go up to his place and you'd be in there, and he'd start reaching for your diaphragm inside your pants.
Oh,
And he would do this to pretty much he would try it with every boy. He tried it with pretty much everybody. Some of the boys were sophisticated enough to go, get your fucking hands off my dick. Yeah. And some of the boys weren't. Some of the boys were scared and intimidated. And he ended up kind of keeping it secret for a long time. Some of the men knew about it. I know some of the men knew about it. They told me. When we went to England, I was rooming with a guy who is a very good friend of mine. I won't mention his name because he took his own life, I believe. He came back from that. He came back from that trip, a totally different guy. Because one night the men all went out and got drunk, and the choir master came back and I found him. I came back to my room, and there he was in bed with my friend, trying to molest him. And I pulled him off of him and called the man over, and we all had this big sort of, hey, keep this quiet. I didn't think much about it. We had choir camp every year, and in that choir camp, he had his own cabin. He would invite boys back. And I know there was lots of shit going on that was really not cool. And I didn't have any proof. I just knew that my personal thing was that he had tried it on me, and I wasn't having it because I was luckily I was sophisticated enough at that age and realized that, I'm not into this. This isn't what I want. But don't really want to cause any waves because he was a pretty intimidating guy. And this is probably a story that people are familiar with when it comes to this kind of abuse, is that you're too afraid to speak out because he holds a lot of power in your life, and he holds a lot of things he holds a lot of attention with people who you respect. So you don't want to rock the boat. I should have, in retrospect, said something. Somebody eventually did, and they did some digging on this guy, and they found out he'd been doing it for quite some time. They got some pretty good eyewitness corroboration, put him in jail, and I think he was killed in prison. I think that's the story I heard.
What I saw today when I did a little research on him, something about him, he tried to sever his own penis in his car in a parking lot or something like that. And
I heard some story, and it wasn't that, but I heard something. He's not. I don't think he's still alive. I think he's dead.
No, he's dead. He's dead.
He's deceased. Yeah. And he had a lovely wife, and he had a lovely family. He had a boy and a dog, and they'd come to camp, and it was very much that story that I think people who are vulnerable and young and don't really know any better. I was sophisticated enough to be from a city, but I could see how the people like my friend who didn't grow up in that city and had just moved there, and other people who were like psychologically scarred by it, didn't really recover. There's a lot of people I know that were in that system, and that choir and that whole institution had that stain on them for quite a long time. I think pretty much most of that has been forgotten and forgiven. But it was, I found it pretty eye-opening when I was younger, that when I look back on it, I recovered from it because I sort of knew it for what it was. I wasn't scarred by it to the point where I couldn't function. Yeah. But I realized that other people who had been scarred by it didn't want to talk about it, didn't want to relive it. And I really haven't really discussed it with any of them since. It's one of those things that, it's a tragedy, but it's not unique. It's certainly not something that doesn't happen anywhere else. It happens all over the place.
Yeah, so it's real disturbing that it does. It's just, I tell you, doing a little research, just looking at the stuff up today was, kind of a dark chapter in Canadian history kind of thing, a little bit there. And
it's too bad because the musical part of it, the thing that I got out of that, the education I got, I couldn't have received that quality of musical education in a conservatory setting, in a private teaching setting. It was like trial by fire, but it was always for the betterment of the product. And the product was like, you'd stand in that choir. I still have those moments where I remember sitting there singing in these great cathedrals in England or this great cathedral in Canada. And the sound we were making as a choir was just, it still gives me shivers to think about it. And it was a quality of a musical presentation that I probably, I have that moment in bands. In Click, we had it maybe 2 or 3 dozen times. As a piano player on a cruise ship, I've had it a couple of times. At a dueling piano bar, I've had it a couple of those nights when they call it flow, I guess, where it just all comes together and you can't do anything wrong. You can sing whatever you want. The entertainment's coming. The tips are flowing. The drinks are coming. the girls are wrapping their t-shirt dresses around their heads. It's something about the music is one of those things. It's a very personal expression, and I think to share it with other people who get that, and you're one of those people, I'm sure too, who gets in that moment, and you will try the rest of your life to get back there. You can't quit it.
That drug that it is, you know, Keith, when my very first real public performance was I walked out at my grade 11 grad variety show, and I sang with in a band with Burke Emig. Does that name ring a bell?
No.
Out of Vancouver, Burke Emig, a few other guys. My English high school teacher, I sang "Waiting for a Girl Like You" by Foreigner. And when I walked out on stage, 1,200 of my fellow students, it was like, they introduced me, Mike Braniff, he's going to sing for you. And I walk out and they all started laughing because they thought I was going to light a fart on stage or something stupid, being the class clown. Right. And I started singing for real. And I got to the "so long, I've been looking too hard, I've been waiting so long." I got to the third line and the crowd goes, "Whoa!" Like he's really doing it. And I literally quit school a couple months later and went and joined a rock band, went on the road, and then never looked back, man. It was just like still chasing that feeling of like, wow, hey, this really works. I could do this.
Was that the first time it happened to you?
Yeah, pretty well. You know, I'd done a couple of little school plays and things like that, cheesy little stuff. And, you know, I remember walking on stage at a grade 2 choir, buddy. And I wanted to be the cool one walking on stage to sing Rudolph. So I remember I put my boots on because I was going to walk on stage like all cool, like I had my boots on. Well, the only problem was they were like winter boots. They weren't cowboy boots or anything cool. I still remember my teacher, "You're not wearing those things. Take them off." And I'm like, "Oh, I want to wear my boots. I want to be cool to sing Rudolph," you know, like, so.
Man, this brings back memories. Cause I remember that I was my high school in Toronto was Jarvis Collegiate. And back in that day, Jarvis was centralized. It was right in the middle of the city. And it was drawing people from Forest Hills and from Rosedale, which were they're like Kenora back there. And they're drawing people from Central Tech area, which is the working class downtown. Also, we were in a neighborhood that was very much a lot of gay and lesbian lived in right by the school. They still do. And working class, up and coming executives over in where we lived, which was Cabbagetown. And it was this melting pot of people. So my high school had Chris Ward was an alumnus, Carlos De Junco, the harp player, he's from there, Blair Packer from the Jitters. It was this great thing. And every single memory I have of, we would put on these reviews at the end of the year. And I was on stage playing, I think, a John Prine tune with Blair. And it was the first time that I really sort of went, you know what? I'm doing this and I'm getting this feeling that this is kind of going over okay. I think I want to do more of this. Yeah, that was like it cemented it right there. And the people that were involved in that school, the music program, my music teacher took me from when I was in grade 9 and I was in the senior choir right away. And he would take me in his lunch hours and we would go through like solo pieces for the end of the year. And he would work with me. He probably did 20, 30 rehearsals with me every year. And then I would perform at the final concert. And it was like, I didn't realize at the time what I had in terms of the support system. Because when you're out there, as soon as you leave high school and you leave all that sort of kind of education that's sort of you have to go and do, and you find those special people within that system that really love what they do, you're in the real world. And Bartles could give a flying fuck what you want or don't want. And the worst gig I ever did was like within 5 or 6 months of leaving high school, or probably maybe more like a year, I was still at university, went up to Nipigon, Ontario with a band, a bunch of guys. It wasn't really an official, I think it was Click, the early version of Click. I might be remembering this wrong. But I'm tying this to the memory because I realized we're on stage. It's a postage stamp size stage. There's a pool table right against the stage. So we're playing away and the guys want to make a shot that involves them having to get on stage. We have to stop playing and get out of the way. Oh, okay, sure. Okay, go ahead. Oh, good shot. Yeah, that's great.
Can you wait till the guitar solo's over, please?
You got the news. Oh, sorry. Okay, go ahead. Make sure you call it. Yeah. So there's no support. You get a real education quick about, you know, what people are going to put up with, what your specialties are or aren't, doesn't matter. It's what, you know, they're going to dictate the rules. They want to fire you, they're going to fire you. unions, the union would never protect me. I don't know how many times we had to get sent home from a gig in the middle of nowhere because they just don't want to pay us. I mean, the union's going to go up there and send the trombone player in to get my $35?
No, yeah. I remember those union guys coming out. You guys part of the union? No. Well, you're supposed to be. Yeah, right.
Well, I was in Toronto Union for the first 3 or 4 years, but we'd go to Calgary and we play in Lucifers downstairs, right? And you set up, and you got to deal with Arson Joe, and you got to deal with Edmund One Nut, and you got to deal with these cats to begin with. And then this third guy you're going to meet is the trombone player from the symphony that comes down and go, okay, who's the leader of the band? And, where's your $113 dues for what? I'm in while you're touring, you're taking jobs away from local Calgary musicians. Oh, okay.
Get out of here.
Exactly.
What are you still now?
Sorry, man.
Sorry. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that those days in Calgary, the Sky Room, and you played there. Skyroom
I didn't do. No, I did North and South Center, and for some reason I never made the Skyroom, and I'm kind of glad based on hearing the horror stories about the stairs and shit. But
that was we'd go to Manpower and hire guys, and we'd never see them again.
That's why you guys were ahead of everybody else on the circuit, man. Honest to God.
Oh man,
I'm telling you. Now this is. Seriously, folks, I'm telling you, personally, from, I got 38 years on the road, not blowing my own horn, but Click was and still is the best cover band that I ever saw anywhere in person ever. I mean, I remember, now you used to play in an unusual way. You had your keyboard not flat like everybody did. You would have it tilted forward so that you could play and people would see your fingers. And I thought that must be difficult to play, but it's so effective because everybody can see you doing it, you're playing. Was that difficult having your...
No, man, that's what I tell people. It's like, if you put your hands up in front of you and you try to play like this, you're bent at the elbows. And if you're a piano player, real classically trained piano players play from the shoulders. They play down they can play fast. They can break piano strings quite easy. Guys that really know what they're doing. I'm not one of those guys. So I would play, which was easier for me. If you drop your hands down in front of you and just pick them up about 35 degrees, it's the most comfortable way to play. You will never get fatigued doing that because your arms are straight. And I didn't do it so people could see what I was doing. I did it because I would playing like this. I'd get sore wrists. I go, this is killing me. Playing it like this, like I have to sit up on a piano. I'm sitting up like this high. I'm almost standing when I'm playing the piano so I can straighten my arms. And that's how I get my power. A classical piano player with the right technique. And I learned this from watching guys who really know how to play. And that's the one thing about cruise ships is there's probably 35 musicians on those boats from Slavic countries that you've never heard of that can play anything, that are phenomenal players. And I would watch these guys play. They can read anything. They can play anything. And they make half the money that we make. I'm always embarrassed for my musical ability when I'm on these ships because you're surrounded by guys that really know what they're doing. And to watch them play like that, I go, I couldn't play for 4 hours. Right now, on the cruise ship, I play 4 hours straight. I rarely take a break, sometimes 5. These guys are playing 30-minute sets. So I kind of give them that sort of, if you were doing this for 4 hours straight, I think you'd have trouble with your hands. Yeah. So, it was never a choice to say, hey, watch me, because I make more mistakes than anybody.
Well, it was really effective because you'd watch you play, and I still have never seen anybody else do that with their keyboard. And it just like, it was I can understand the mechanics behind it now, but I mean, honestly, the visual behind it was something different. I mean, God, like here, I remember walking downstairs at Fram's that first night. This is the first thing I heard when I walked in.
Clip?
Check.
Oh yeah.
Check. I hear check and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. They're going to use that fucking Max Webster tune. Like,
we did that for 8 years, I think.
You know what? I do have a clip actually.
Okay.
Do we have a clip from that? Let's roll that clip from Fram's that night. All right, let's go. What? Ah, shit. Sorry, Keith. I'm told we don't have that clip. Once again, man.
You gotta fire your people, man. That's disappointing.
Almighty, I tell. Now I got a real quick story I want to tell. I recall seeing you guys do Bohemian Rhapsody that night at Fram's.
Right.
And now I saw Freddie live with Queen in 1981 on the Body Language tour. And oh yeah.
Go ahead. I'm just giving you
Just
some
beautiful.
context.
Now, I remember you guys would get to the middle section with the big opera part, and then we kind of made it more of a medley. You steered it and go into another song. Fast forward a couple of years later, I'm at the CI South watching you guys. You start doing Bohemian Rhapsody, and I'm like, yeah, even when I saw Queen live, they played the tape of the opera part. They ran off stage, lights and smoke, and they played the tape, and then they would come back on.
Right.
No, I thought, you guys, I love the way you do it. They nail the song, but they get to that middle part, they're probably going to segue into the other song like they did before. Not that night. You guys actually did the entire middle section. Now, I know that you were working with a lot of samples and stuff like that, but there was still a lot of blood. No. Here's the
kidding me. No. Here's the genius. Oh, I'm frozen. Okay. Here's the genius of our guitar player, Al Vermew. Because we needed a way to do that, but keep in time with each other. So Al, in his room, built these little devices that would count bars based on sounds out of a drum machine. So a cowbell would be bar 1, a snare drum would be beat number 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4, bar, and there'd be a tom for which subdivision you're in. Because the tempo is all over the place. You can't, when you get to that part where you're going, you're actually like 5 metronome markings faster than when the first time it happens, So he had to figure out a way where we could, everyone had a part, except Randy. Randy didn't sing. Tim, me, and Al would sing a part. But I had gone we had these 12, 14 tape decks. Remember those cassette decks?
Oh, yeah.
In my room, I copied the whole entire Bohemian Rhapsody. I sang all the parts and kept, dubbing them down to 2-track. It was like, at one point, 60 tracks of vocals going, but kind of crappy quality. And we had one of the tapes playing with my vocals that I had done in the studio. And the rack-mounted version of the 1214 was what we used on tape. But on the 14th track was the empty track and the drum sounds that would trigger the counters. So we were running the tape, and the tape was running these counters. So when we came to that, we always knew where we were. And Randy was watching it, so he was keep the time. When it came to this is one tempo, and then when that stops, it goes da ba 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 ba. All that was counted. Jesus. And Al had it figured out, so it's da 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 da, and the bars are changing like crazy, but everyone knew where we were, so they could sing a part, and they knew exactly when to come in without having to look at each other. And he built these things. These things were little devices in boxes he bought at Radio Shack. He burned the circuit boards in his room. He etched them in his room.
Oh my
he had
God.
Chip figured out to do all this. And we all had one plugged in with audio connections. Everyone had one. And we used it for other things too. But anytime there's tape running with a way to control them, we could do it. So we had all these, it opened up a world for us. It was like, we had a Mac on stage, which we didn't use for much. We had sequencing for some stuff for the keyboards, but this thing would run, we could do it either through the Mac or through the tape. So we were doing all this really big orchestration stuff, which was way ahead of its time, but so complicated. And I had to this day, I don't know how Al figured it out. He's just that guy.
Well, I almost got tossed out of there. I mean, I had literally played that bar a few weeks earlier as the lead singer of my big band, blah, blah, and here I am at the back, and you guys start Bohemian Rhapsody, and you get to the middle part, and then it's like, oh my God, you guys started doing it. And I just, Keith, I remember losing my shit and getting on one of those giant wooden tables. I jumped up on the table, and I went total fangirl on you guys.
That's what we're going for.
And right away it's like here comes Animal. Hey, get the hell down from there. Toss you out of here. You can't fucking do that. You can't believe they're doing this, man.
That's what we took to Vancouver. We took that to Vancouver, and it was like we have to fight for a place in the roster here with guys that are doing, Gonna Run to You by Bryan Adams every night. What? And not that there's anything wrong with those bands, but I saw 5 of them in a row. We used to stay at the Rex all the time. We would stay upstairs when we weren't playing. So I would go downstairs and we'd see who was playing. And all the bands from Vancouver would come through, with the exceptions of like Paradox. There was guys that would come out from there that were doing the greatest good R&B feel stuff, and they could sing and they could play and they could banter and they could go whatever way the audience wanted to go. But most of the bands you'd see the set list. You go, okay, where are they going to put Run to You? Where are they going to put Cuts Like a Knife? Where are they going to put,
Yeah. Sweet Child of Mine.
Sweet Child of Mine, yeah.
God, God.
But that's the thing about cruising. The cruisers that I'm in front of a lot are my age group, who appreciate this music I grew up with. That's the age I'm at now, where it's like, oh Jesus, this music has found a new life because these people haven't forgotten it, and their kids are bringing it up, and their kids are coming up with, you guys must know some, Bring It On Home. You want to know some Whole Lotta Love. You want to do Stairway to Heaven. You want to do any of the classic rock stuff that I haven't played that stuff for years. I had to relearn a lot of this stuff. Don't Stop Believing never went away. That kind of stuff. And I do incorporate a lot of the new stuff because there's some great new artists out there. I love Eminem. He's amazing. I know a lot of people don't find that. But you can play Lose Yourself to a crowd of people of my age who grew up listening to all the classic rock I did, who still get a real rush when they hear that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one for sure.
There's a whole bunch of music in that. I think it was one of the Shark Tank guys said, there's the innovators, and then, the originators, the guys that started all the innovators. I forget how it goes, but the last one is, I'll remember this eventually. It'll pop into my head. I'm old now, so yeah. Yeah, the originators, the innovators, and then the imitators. And we're at the imitation phase for a lot of the rap stuff that's out there right now. Like Drake, I don't get how people are buying the fact that this guy's been singing the same 3 notes over the same weird loops for 5 albums. I mean, and he's got no street cred because he was the guy in the wheelchair in
Degrassi.
Degrassi. I mean, how is anyone in the States missing this? It's like someone telling me that, Alanis Morissette has cred. Did you see her first disco record?
Yeah.
What?
Oh, what? I know. Yeah.
What? Yeah.
Sugar bum, bop, bubble pop, sugar bump, whatever. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Bubble
Mall
sugar
music.
Pop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. No. Oh my God. That's cool. I like. Now I want to jump around. Jump ahead a little bit here. What did you do after Click? What was the last Click gig? I mean, it's not a proud moment, obviously. Or
it was the Beverly Crest. It was here in Edmonton.
No way.
Yeah, it was in that horrible Ernie. Oh. And I'll never forget my parting volley was, we left something behind. I had to go back and get it. And Ernie, the guy that owned it and ran the place. There was an Ernie at the Kingsway, and there was an Ernie at the Crest.
That's right. Yeah.
Ernie at the Kingsway, that weird toupee, walking around with the cigar hanging out of his mouth. It's like, you guys don't do enough Lovers Boy. Lovers Boy. You know what Lovers Boy.
Oh God.
The guy at the Crest, he was a Ukrainian guy that was like, I'm half Ukrainian, so I was trying to, talk to him about my heritage. And we're sitting in the office, and he's going, "You forgot something." And I went, "What did we forget?" Piece of drum, something. I'm not going to pay you the $500 because you're just leaving stuff in my bar. I'm going, well, how does that make sense? Like, he didn't want to pay me the final $500 that he owed me because he always keeps a little bit back for damage to the hotel rooms. And we left something there, and he wasn't going to give us whatever it was we left there. And he was also going to ding us $500 for leaving it there. So he had some bone to pick. And that was my parting volley from the bar scene. I was going, well, I'm kind of glad I'm getting out of this, because this is kind of like, you can climb to the top of this level and you can still be jack shit to anybody. Nobody gives a fuck. And you're not going to fight this guy. I'm not going to take him to court for $500. Yeah. And we're never getting this piece of equipment back, whatever it was. It might've been an amplifier or something, but it was like, okay, wash my hands of it. I was out at the acreage. We were living in an acreage out in Sherwood Park. And I got a gig at the museum as a sound guy. Within a couple of months, I was cutting grass for 2 or 3 months, just getting it out of my system, because I was really tortured. By the end of that whole Click run, we'd gone to Calgary and done Live Wire. We'd done a bunch of really bad gigs that people weren't going to bars anymore. So
it was
Monday, remember that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday was like, oh, why are we here? Thursday would be okay. Friday was pretty good. Saturday was great. But that was the start of that whole decline into you're not getting week gigs anymore. They turn into weekends, if that. It's pay to play. It's not, there's no money. We're making half what we were making before. So I got this gig at the museum as a technician for their theater. And that theater is still one of my favorite sounding rooms of all time. It sounds amazing in there. And I sort of slowly crept my way up into the system and got myself the management position there, where I ran the theater and the wedding program and catering, and I had staff at the admissions desk, and I had the gift shop staff. I had a pretty big company with 25 people employed there, and it was great for like 12, 15 years. It was fantastic. And then in that time, I would go do karaoke now and then. I'd go sing at Rosie's up on White Ave, and I'd go hang out. And it was like, it got my love of music back. And then the Joint Chiefs came along, and that was kind of like another step into, I knew I wanted to do music. I just didn't want to play with other people anymore. I think that was really what I learned. And then when the dueling piano thing came, and it started at the Ivory Club down in the South Side. Dennis Byrne owned the Ivory Club with a couple of other partners, and it was Shane Young was involved in it, and there's a bunch of people back in the day, and they sort of put this whole thing together to the point where people were at least noticing it was okay. It wasn't a great room. It was really far away. It didn't really quite establish itself. But then the Grametians decided they wanted to do dueling pianos, and from that point they headhunted one of the other guys to manage it, and he said, no, Keith's your guy. And he handed me the gig, and that's when I started playing music again full time. I was doing the museum at the same time at the beginning of that. So it was a lot of work, because I was working 7 days a week at the museum and also doing the gig on the weekends. And at that point, it was 3, 4, 5 days a week sometimes.
Wow. But I think it was around 2007 you kind of dipped your toe back into the soundtrack market there, and you have a song on a Andy Samberg movie from 2007. And this is the ironic thing too, buddy. I saw this movie for the first time about a month ago.
Really?
Yeah, I did. And I thought, I'm not a big Andy Samberg fan, but it started off, I'm like, yeah, this is kind of funny. I can get this, but I mean, I got attention. What? Deficit disorder. What?
Well, that was that era. That was that era, the Michael Cera ironic weirdo guys becomes the protagonist, becomes this, it was the whole start of that era. And I thought, I didn't even have an idea that it was going to be on this. We didn't ever write that song to be on that soundtrack. It was on that compilation with 15 or 20 of our other songs. And there was hundreds and thousands of songs on these compilations. So the fact that they paid us in American money, and I couldn't even find it on the movie. I can't find where they're playing it, but they paid us. I get a credit in the back of a Hollywood movie.
It's on the soundtrack. Now, this is definitely not a rock tune. Okay.
You're so kind, Mike.
I know that we played in the Joint Chiefs and we had the Unholy Five that we played. And then when I heard this, I'm like, man, that's not that far off. But I mean, you and David Petavar wrote this song. This is you singing it. And I want to treat everybody out there. This is just great. From the movie Hot Rod, starring Andy Samberg, from the soundtrack. Check this out, boys and girls.
Okay, that's enough. For fuck's sake, stop it.
Oh, come on. Make it
fucking stop. Who's that girl singing that?
I don't know. This thing was Paula Abdul, wasn't it? My God. It started off sounding like a Paula Abdul song there at the beginning. It was like, holy shit.
Doesn't get any better, man.
Oh, but dude, hey, man, you're on a soundtrack. I'm not, and you made bank. So there you go, man. That's there. Now, okay, let's circle back here to this. This is where... This is where one of the coolest things that ever happened to me. Obviously, being in this band for me was a real treat. Working with Brent McNabb, Andrew White, Brian Cymbaluk, and you as well too. And I can't tell you, man, how many times I stood there on stage, looking to my right, and it's like, Jesus Christ, that's Keith, man. That's the guy. Like, God damn it, how did I end up here? And I'm, oh yeah, okay, don't screw up, just don't screw up, man. And it was. Such a treat working with you guys. It was so much fun putting the band together. And I do have a short clip that I want to play. Brian was on the show a few weeks back. as my guest, and he brought up the Unholy Five that we did, which was Bye Bye Bye, Beautiful Stranger by Madonna.
Oh, yes.
Livin' La Vida Loca.
Right.
Hit Me Baby One More Time, and You're Unbelievable. Oh, you know.
Oh, I love that song.
Yeah, God, you know, and it was like, yeah. Now I do have a video clip of one of the songs from the Unholy Five. I was going to play all five of them, but Andrew's going to be a guest in about, I think, October 19th. So I wanted to save the Unholy Five Trinity for him.
Yeah, so let him answer for that miss.
Yeah, exactly.
It was all his fucking idea.
So I want to play just a clip. This is a terrible video clip from the a VHS camera at the soundboard at the Voodoo Lounge in Edmonton in 2000. This became the Gentleman's Club or something that just burned down recently. Strip club. That's right. Now, before I play this, I remember when we were setting up for this gig and we were doing sound check. Graham Cadell was our sound man.
Right.
We were doing sound check. We set up in the afternoon, and I think that there still was the strip bar next door or something like that.
Right.
And we were in the other side of the bar there. Now you started to do a song at sound check. I think you did "Arms of an Angel" by Sarah McLachlan. You just started playing it and singing it, and you started it, and it was so damn good that Graham was like, oh, well, okay, let's get, no, shut up, Graham, let him finish it. And we literally made you play the entire song. But I recall time absolutely stopped in that bar that day. There were staff that just came walking over. There were other, strippers and other patrons that just came walking over. By the time you finished that song, we had about 15 people on our side watching you at soundcheck, and they're all just like, whoa, this is amazing. But again, this is just gold. Honest to God. The fact that now I don't even know how to say this, but we nailed this song. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay,
and I'm just going to play it. You ready? Bye. Oh, no way. Look at people up dancing.
Look at that. Both of them.
God damn it. You still have the track for that.
I still play this on the ships.
Unbelievable, buddy.
I'm doing this tonight.
Yeah. God, I tell you, honest, it was like, you guys want to learn what?
Yeah, I know.
Really? Like what? Oh,
yeah, we're doing that too.
Yeah, but it was, man, when we played them.
Well, look at us. There's the only guy in there that was under 100 pounds, under 200 pounds was Brent. And his dick weighed 100 pounds, if I recall correctly.
That's right.
It was
human tripod.
We were nicknamed like chefs, remember? So, and all of a sudden we're going to do "Hit Me Baby" one more time. And we're going to do "Bye Bye Bye." And it was like, that's the greatest, right? Andrew was on to something. He's got that whole thing figured out with the big right turn. He let me sing 2 or 3 songs a night, which was enough for me, because that was like, okay, I'm not going to get vocally tired, but and I can drink whenever I want. This is going to be great.
That was so much fun. Now I'm going to get in from there, obviously, into the Red Piano days. You've talked about the Red Piano and that. I have a clip that I really would like to share with everybody out there. If anybody wasn't able to see what went on in the Red Piano, it was a crowd of very beautiful people.
Oh, man.
dressed very nicely in a very nice atmosphere, and you guys owned that room every night, man. I'd go down and see you guys on my break, and I'd just be like, God damn, this is amazing what's going on up down here, and I gotta go back to
the group of talented people that just, when we started it, we had no idea what we were going to end up getting. And people came out of the woodwork, musicians that really didn't have any experience, quickly learned how to become good at this job. And even those people it'd take about 6-8 months to get someone to the point where they're comfortable enough on stage to take a whole night on. But once they got it, those kids, man, I mean, and they were kids to me because they were all in their 20s. Some of them were 30, but most of them are younger than me by quite a bit. And they never had they didn't do what we did, where they went through the circuit and they scratched for gigs, and they went up through the B bars and then the C bars, and then they got to the A bars and played, because that doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. They don't have that opportunity, which I think is too bad, because if they had that opportunity, some of these kids would be for sure, famous. They're amazing. That's the thing about that bar, was the talent. When we finally got to the point where it was cooked in that middle 5 years, you'll see. Yeah.
Let's check this out. This is from the Red Piano in West Edmonton Mall. Here we go. That's just awful.
That's at the Arts Barns, that one.
My God.
That's a remote show, that piece.
There is still a chance that they will see. Here I am on the road again. There I am.
All the credits. Shit.
Oh, I leave the credits. Oh, yeah. Here we go.
Oh, my God.
You remember doing all those jobs?
Yeah, I do. But where's the part where I cured cancer? Close. Yeah, they got to understand. They got to understand that's a promotional piece that I used to get other gigs. That's how I got this cruise ship gig. Was that reel right there got me onto Holland America, got me onto Carnival, and eventually Royal. All those were all part of that. Because you want to get involved with the cruise lines and you do it through their website, crickets. They won't call you back. They don't give a shit.
No, they get hundreds of resumes a week, I'm sure. Yeah,
and they were doing the online audition thing forever. And the talent on those ships, I'm telling you, the theater staff, the technical staff, everybody. Well, the technical staff I'm not so crazy about, but they're getting better technical people than they're paying for. The people that do the shows, though, the guys that learn, like some of them have to learn 5 or 6 shows, and they do them through every cruise, and they have to know all their parts: the dancing, the singing. Some of them play. It's incredible. These guys, these singers and the musicians, like, they have to read. An act will come in fly in from Georgia, hand them the charts. They have a half an hour to rehearse it. They go on stage that night and do a 45-minute show as if they've been doing it their whole lives. And they do a different one every week. It's incredible. I couldn't even imagine it. Wow. Yeah, it's crazy.
Now, I mean, like the audiences on the cruise ship were very much like the Red Piano audiences, only just not older. All Canadian money.
Yeah,
older. Well, yeah, a little older.
See, the Red Piano skewed pretty young. We had to get really creative with, like, at the beginning we were doing stuff that's typical classic piano bar stuff. Elton John, Billy Joel, got to do that stuff. When we got to the heart of that gig was the 5 years in the middle there between probably 2010 to, it was when we had to learn how to rap. We had to learn country. We had to learn rock. We had to learn, we called it, we have to do what we call backfill for those kids, because they didn't really grow up playing Zeppelin or Bob Seger or any of that stuff. They didn't know that stuff. The kids knew, every single word to an Eminem song. They could do it without And they could. One of the kids on there, Sean, he came in. He's phenomenal. He's like a little prodigy. He would get up and he would do rap, like he'd do rap stuff that was crazy. Jesse Peters was another one of these young kids, just an absolute sponge when it came to that era. He could do, Rage Against the Machine, but also do some classical BKRS-One or some of the really old school rap stuff. And he could do it convincingly well to the point where he could get up and freestyle, stand on the piano without anybody helping him and just talk. He could spit like you wouldn't believe. And this is the stuff that we found it was the heart of entertainment for that group. As people were coming into the bar scene who were of that age where they were listening to that stuff growing up, they knew everything. Fresh Prince. If you did Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, you'd always get response. Where 10 years earlier you did some of the rocks like Don't Stop Believin'. That's the same sort of thing. And it carried over into this, it sort of became this amalgam of all these different styles. There was no one dominant style anymore. If it was on the radio and it was popular, whether country could be, Cruise by Florida Georgia Line, that lasted 6-8 months. And then all of a sudden there'd be a rap song. There'd be like Rap God would come up. They'd want to hear that. Then there'd be a blues song. There'd be a ballad. And it would go back and forth. And the girls we had, it was a sort of a real innovation for piano bars to have girls doing it, because piano bar was always dominantly two guys. Mm-hmm. Dueling Pianos in Vegas was always two guys. And I just thought that limited us. If you're going to do girl songs, you're doing them down and you're making fun of it, or you're not doing it right. Yeah. So if you hire girls who have this other gear, you're going to have everything. And eventually we all came together as this group and learned all the different formats. I mean, it was an experience, an education for me at my age. It was in my 50s. I'm learning how to do different music than I didn't listen to that shit growing up. Yeah. I had no interest at all in where rap, Grandmaster Flash and the original rap guys from the old days, Sugar Hill Gang and all that stuff, and how it grew into what it grew into protest music, into street music. Then I went to New York and saw it myself. I saw people breakdancing in the streets in New York City and went, this is a whole different thing. And it sort of came back to me when I got into the red piano thing, because these kids grew up with that music. Where I grew up with Zeppelin, they're growing up with this stuff. And when they implemented it, our numbers just went through the roof. That's how we did it. If we'd have stuck to that standard piano bar format, we wouldn't have made it 3 years. And that's what I was predicting. I said, well, 3 years and we'll be done. But
well, I've got a clip here, another one of your promotional clips. This is from the Carnival cruise and the Holland cruise line that you've done. I just want to play this to kind of give everybody an idea of what it's like to be doing your gig on the cruise ships. And again, the audience is right there in your face and just right into it. Check this out, everyone.
But you rescued me from reaching for the bottle.
Check out some of these reviews are crazy, man.
From being too far gone, you're smooth.
God, I'd kill for reviews like that.
Yeah. Well, the thing about cruise ships is,
they keep coming. Like, I got one more clip here. Just. Awesome, man.
That's Royal Caribbean. That's the Adventure of the Seas. C-Series piano.
Drinking whiskey and ride, singing,
Ah.
This will be the day that I die. This will be the day that I die.
There you go. We'll throw a little promo up there for people to get a hold of you. Look at that. He's on the internet, man. I mean, now.
Well, that's the thing about cruise ships that people don't really understand is that it's called TGEMs for Carnival. They're basically audience response. Every time you cruise, they send a card to your house, email or by the mail. asking you to basically give them a critique of everything. Like sometimes it's 10 pages long. Some of them are really long. But if you mention someone by name, like if I get mentioned by name on these surveys and they go back to head office, we get a whole bunch of stuff. Like it's a real big deal. They track those things like it's money. And I would get 100, 150 on every cruise come back to me. People would mention me by name. And I'm not out there. I'm not whoring for it. I just thought, if you take where we come from, where you can read a room and you know what people want and you're willing to go wherever they're willing to go, and you're not afraid to really mine the depths of who's there and go out on the limb. I never have a set list. I go out there every night and I look at the first 10 requests. I pick the ones that are going to work and we start the night. And from that, it just grows and grows and grows. That gets you those TGMs. And within 4 or 5 contracts, I was getting basically whatever cruise ship I wanted for whatever contract I wanted. I even got them to dock down the amount of months, because Royal Caribbean, they want you for 4 months. They want to fly you there, look after you, but they don't want you leaving and fly you home until you've done 4 months. I got them down to 3 on the last one. Carnival, I basically was the contract that I didn't get to do was they're rebranding one of their ships, and it was coming out of New York on June 25th. I was supposed to be starting out of New York City. This was their inaugural trip into the Caribbean for this ship. I got that one, and I was looking forward to coming out of New York City for a cruise, and that didn't work. I get to pick this stuff because the audience that I'm getting is really vocal about what they like. They're not brutal. They never get to the point where they're going, this guy sucks. I never see a lot of that. But they vote with their feet. If they don't like you, they just don't say anything. Yeah. So a lot of these guys are, you kind of have to look after yourself when it comes to what people are saying. And that thing that you showed is actually another promotional piece for another cruise line. I was trying to get Richard Branson, and when he was coming out with a new ship, we saw it in Miami. It didn't do more than, I think it did 1 cruise before it got shut down in March with the COVID thing. But he has a whole other concept of how to do cruising. And you still got to work this every single time you do a contract. You got to be on top of it.
Now, that's a perfect lead in to take us to what happened at the end of the run here, about the middle of March. You are, my friend, you and your wife are the 2 people I know of that caught the C word that I don't like to say in this show, but we will say it tonight because you had COVID and you got it coming home. Now I'll let you take the story because you were on the ship and all the shit went down, and then it was like they said, "Do you want to go home?"
Right. Well, this is what happened from the cruise line's perspective. The 14th of March, we were going to sail with a half a contingent of guests. They said, "Well, there's been cancellations. We're going to still continue to go." So I was on the Oasis of the Seas, which is one of their biggest ships. And it was their newest ship because they just refurbished it. So this was 8,500 people normally, was going to go down to 4,000, which is a big kick, right? That's a big hit. They're still going to sail. Then within 2 hours, we were told to report to the theater, where they gave us a presentation saying, "We're closing it down. If you can get home, if you can get flights in the next 24 hours, you're welcome to go. If you stay, we could pay you. We're not sure what, but be aware that we're not going to be going back to any ports for at least 6 weeks. We're going to go to our private island, and we're going to dock there for a little while. I'm going to hang out in the ocean." They can provision those ships for months, right? They can just provision them once and they can stay out there. And we didn't know what the extent was going to be. Is it just this ship? Is it just this line? The talk was, we don't know, but if you can get home, get home. So luckily my agent, I talked to my agent, said, "What should I do?" He said, "Well, if you can get home, get home. Go to the crew office, which is the MES, I think they call it. And you go down there and you talk to the guy, and then they talk to their people on land. And it's an amazing network of people who get on the phone and get you flights. Because, I mean, they're flying. Every one of these ships has 3,500 crew members on it. And there's always people coming and going. So every single day of the year, there's probably 10,000 people flying around the world with these cruise lines, because there's hundreds of ships. So I thought there's no chance. And I don't know what this future's going to. I wasn't sick at this point. Nobody on the ship really had been identified as having COVID at this point. Later, it turned out that there was a lot of people on that ship, on that cruise, that the final cruise, guests that had it, went home and had some issues with it. But at this point, I wasn't sick. So I managed to get a flight, And me and my friend, who was the guitar player on that ship, he became a friend of mine from back east. His name was Pete. We just stood in the line on the crew deck waiting to see if we could get off the boat, because that was the other issue. Border Patrol, border protection is God. If they want to shut the port down, you can't get off the ship, you don't get off the ship. Yeah. And so they had said, well, we may not open, you may not be allowed to leave, we're going to get the guests off, then you got to go see a customs agent, and then they're going to check you out. And if you can get off the ship, you got to go through that process. It turned out it was the easiest exit, the easiest disembark I've ever done. I walked downstairs. They said, you and you come. Went there, got off, got in a Uber, went to the airport. And that was the day that Trump had announced, or CNN had announced, and all of the Fox News people were going, get the hell home. We're going to close the country down. Everyone don't. This is the 15th of March. So the airports were packed with people, no masks. Like, some people had them on, but most people were just desperate to get out, sick or not sick. They just wanted to get home. So I got on the plane with a bunch of people from another cruise. They were all kissing and hugging, and there was no social distancing. There was a lot of the exact opposite of social distancing. Yeah. Man. So I went to Miami. I was in that airport for 3 hours. Then I went to Houston for another 3 hours. Then I went to Denver for another 4 hours. Then I got to Edmonton. All very easily done. 3 days later, I get home and I'm starting to feel like, okay, I'm getting some. And I got basically what felt like a cold, a little bit of flu symptoms, but nothing too serious. I've had way worse colds than this. So I was on a cruise ship. So I phoned and said, well, can I get tested? Because they were not letting everybody get tested. You had to have some serious symptoms and or some sort of logistical reason for going. As soon as they said cruise ship, they said, fine. Christy followed me 3 days later. She got sick, exactly the same symptoms. Nothing very serious. I swear to God, I've had worse colds than this, and it was nothing to be worried about. Yeah. But they sent us to a testing center in town here, and only the very sick were going to this testing center. But there was doorknobs that weren't being wiped down. I had to reach into a box of masks that everybody else was reaching into to get my mask. There was nurses walking up and down the hall with gloves on that were never changed when we were there. We went into rooms that were cordoned off by curtains. So if you weren't really sick, by the time you went to this testing center and exiting, I had to touch the same doorknobs that everyone else had to touch. And I left. And I thought, well, only the very sick are here. And if you don't have it, you're going to have it when you get home. So I figured, well, I'll wait for the testing to come back. The testing came back. I'm positive. Christy's not. She's negative. So at this point, the medical officer of health is phoning and saying, everything we know about this, she's probably positive, so just treat it like you should quarantine. So we quarantined. We hung out for 2 weeks and got better. Everything was fine. And by this point, I had a kidney stone attack, and then I had to go to the hospital. And that's when the other half of the COVID problem kicked in, is that primary health care no longer existed. I couldn't get looked after for this kidney stone. I had a kidney stone traveling through my system for 15 days in utter, absolute agony that they wouldn't look at. I got 2 consults. I went to the emergency room. They said, nothing we can do. We're not doing surgery. You can't get this thing looked after. Normally, if you have a kidney stone that's hurting this badly, they take you and they blow it up. In 36 hours, you're home and everything's fine. Yeah. 15 days, I'm taking morphine and I'm taking Dilaudid, and I'm doing everything I can to survive this, because I'm beside myself. My wife, she's watching me just suffer. And this is where I realized I'm watching the healthcare professionals who have to come into my room. I'm in a private room now, isolated with the door, all ventilation, isolation. They have to come in the room, glove up, double everything up, come in, give me my pill, go out, take it all off, and have someone watch them do it. If they do it wrong, they have to do it all over again and wash themselves up and then leave. 15 minutes later, they come into my room, double glove up. So these people are exhausted. They can't even function. They're so tired because of the protocols. Now, not that that's a bad thing, because this disease was at this point not really known how serious it was for the vast majority of the population. Very few people have been tested, and the results were skewed very badly because all the people that were tested who were in this province were people that were sick for sure. So it looked like everyone that was getting tested was going to be sick. So fast forward all this time, I'm having a conversation the other night with a friend of mine, and she says to me, oh, but you're one of the lucky ones. You didn't really get sick. And I went, no, 99% of the population are lucky by that definition, because most people are not going to be hospitalized with this. And this is the thing that's killing this business that we're in, is that the protocols and the power of the government to shut everything down it's astonishing to me that I had H1N1 5 years ago, and it was a much worse experience. I could have died from that. I had double pneumonia. I was sicker than I've ever been. And I can get H1N1 again. And I get that people who are compromised, their lungs are compromised, who vape or who smoked or in intensive care, I think they should be spending all the CERB money and everything like that, making these centers where people could go there who are vulnerable and look after them like military grade, look after them. And let the rest of the world go out there and let the virus do its thing. It's gonna hit you anyway. It's gonna get to everybody eventually, or at least the majority of the population before we can survive it. You shut it down, it goes away for a while because everyone's at home. You come back out, it starts to bloom. This is gonna keep happening. And we're not going to get to herd immunity this way. That's,
No, so. Isn't that isn't that the strangest thing about all this, Keith, is being told that singing is dangerous now? I mean, that's for me,
but here's,
like, how can I'm going to
if you can do hot yoga, which people can do, you can sit in a room with hot yoga and you can breathe and exhale like you're working out without masks on, but you can't sing. I get this because as a technician, how many times have I stood with my lights aimed at a singer and watch the side view of the spray that comes out of your mouth through the light. There's a lot of atomization here. Yeah. But the problem is not going to be the fact that we are going to catch it through aerosol with a mask on, because those droplets are going to land on the ground. And people yesterday, I'm in a store, I'm in Home Depot. Everyone's got masks on, but I get to the checkout counter. The gun that I pick up has not been cleaned. Yeah. Everything to do with me checking out, getting my change back is people handing things to me without, and those plastic coverings on the machines, they're not changing them. They're not washing them. So, I mean, it's all visual cues. That's what they're doing now. And it's making me crazy because I just don't believe we're going to escape this by sitting at home shaking in our basements with masks on. We're not. It's a virus. It's not going anywhere. And the stats, if you look at the WHO site, 99% of the population has recovered. 1% are sick and having trouble. And I get that you don't want to be in that 1%, but that means to me, if grandpa wants to go out with his oxygen mask because he needs to be outside, he should not be doing that. He should be at home surrounded by the wagons, and the family should be looking after him because if he gets it, he's going to get sick.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you all the way on that, man. That's now.
But yeah, the other point I was going to make is everywhere I've gone, and I did a gig last weekend with a bunch of people outside in a tent who were social distancing and very aware of a bunch of my cruise people came, wanted me to do a gig, and it was out around Devon, and it was in a big, huge backyard with a bunch of RVs around, and they all sat at tables distance from each other. They wore masks. They had to wash their hands. Everything was cool. But again, for the umpteenth time, they'd never met anyone who's had COVID. I'm the only guy they've ever known who's had. I'm going, does this not tell you something? You're in a group of 50 people here, and I'm the only one that that has it. Maybe this is an overreaction. Just think about that. Yeah, but I know I'm going to get a lot of heat for that. But
no. It's that's just it. The debate is this and that, and it's just I learned a long time ago that posting a lot of things either way is just not good for business kind of thing. No. So if you want to talk about it with me, I'll talk about it with you. But I keep a lot of that stuff offline. But yeah, I mean, I'm frustrated too, buddy. I really am. Yeah. I want to get back working again. But
that's the thing. I've started to see it in the news where there's a place in Brazil called Paradise Islands where they won't let you travel to them unless you can prove you've had COVID. Mm-hmm. So I'm in this unusual predicament where they're going to make me wear a mask, but if I catch COVID, I'm not going to get as sick as I was the first time, and I hardly got sick the first time. And if I give you the virus after my system has worked on it, I'm almost vaccinating you because you're going to get a weakened version of the COVID. That's how herd immunity works. But there's no rules and regulations for people who've had the disease. We have to follow the protocols like everybody else. But it makes no sense to me that I'm sitting here wearing a mask in Home Depot when I'm the only guy that's caught it. And I can't affect you, and you can't infect me. So no one's taught about that. It's starting to come. I'm starting to see it in the mainstream media, but Florida's going to be herd immunity for anybody. Those idiots were down there on the beach partying it up like nobody's business and getting sick in big groups. I get they don't want to overwhelm the healthcare system, but the reality is I'm not even in the 80% with no symptoms. I'm in the 20% that had symptoms. In the 20% that had symptoms, only 5% at the most are going to have serious problems, and only 2% of those people are going to be hospitalized. Yeah. We've got 3,500 intensive care beds in this city, or in the Edmonton zone, and there's maybe 85 people in there. We haven't lost 250 people, but it's closed down the economy to the point where people are going to start taking their own lives. I'm seeing that serious kind of approach to suicide and mental depression because people are, the hope is gone. It's like my business. I invested my whole life in this business, and now I've got nowhere to go. The service isn't going to last forever, and the government's not going to look after me after, and they're still going to have, no places we can play. I mean, we're going to be the last people that are going to have any kind of hope.
Yeah. That's now, before anybody gets all apolitical and all that stuff out there, I want to send this little message out to everybody. Keith had it. You haven't. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and I know people who had it worse. I know people that had it worse than I did, and who still recovered. I mean, we're not the lucky ones who've had it with symptoms. I'm the lucky ones because I wasn't part of that 2%. So 98% of the population right now who has a chance of getting infected, you're going to be fine. It's not the killer virus, and stop fucking watching television, because every time I see a Fox News, burn-in, it's like that absolutely unbelievable killer virus that's going to get you all. It's not going to kill you all. It's just statistically not going to happen. So
that's what I wanted. I wanted to hear from somebody who's had it, that I know, and is going to, there we go. I mean, that's just it. Again, folks, you might have your opinions one way or the other, but listen to the man. He's lived it. Okay.
Here's the other thing on the cruise ship that I was on, we found out that about, I think, 15 or 20 people that I directly was involved with in the piano bar, who knew me, who became friends of mine, 15 people out of 100 people cruising in that group caught it as well. Wow. And they were they had different various responses to it. One person was hospitalized because he has a comorbidity. He was asthmatic, and he had a problem with his lungs to begin with. He survived. Nobody in that group died. And so all of my experiences, everyone I've talked to that says, okay, my experience with COVID, I have a great aunt who I know from a friend of a friend who had it. Well, that's all secondary anecdotal information. If you've actually had the disease, you have a much better chance of being here to talk about it than you don't. So take it from there.
Good to know.
Anyway, back to the music.
Back to the music. Now, now that we've kind of taken this thing, I got one quick question for you. Mm-hmm. That's going to take me about a minute to get there with.
Okay.
I think I mentioned this to you yesterday when we were chatting, but just a quick story. About 3 years ago, I was playing a gig, and somebody dropped a racial slur on a guy. And the guy said, "Who the hell said that?" And the guy who said it was the singer. The guy bullied his way through a packed house, walked up on stage, and started clobbering me. He called me, and I just started pounding on me. I had nowhere to go, nowhere behind me, nowhere to my left. I had a big piano table in front of me. I couldn't go anywhere, so I was trapped. And this guy was a very large bouncer from another bar in the city, but he didn't like what he was called. Obviously, I didn't like what he was called either, but I sure as hell didn't say it. But he just started pounding on me because the guy who said it. Anyway, as a result of that, I got diagnosed about a year later. They said, "Well, you got some PTSD from this," and I went, "No, veterans, Army veterans, guys like that get it, man. Not me, man. I didn't buy it." But then another year later, I realized I had 20-year-old girls coming up to ask me to play a song, and I would be like,
all right,
scared, man. Like, what do you want? And I realized I was having it was detrimental to my job, and I was starting to be combative with the audience. What do you want? Just leave me, and so anyway, I discovered what the problem was, what the issue was. A little bit of medication, psilocybin. I'm proud to say, that's the route I took, because it wasn't. I didn't want to be on traditional prescription kind of things. Anyway, it's worked. It's corrected. It's helped bring me back. It's helped revive my career.
Right.
Now, I saw a video of you playing on the cruise ship not long ago, and I saw you. You had a giant jar, the bowl of tip money in front of you, but there was a guy standing behind you, and he was going like this with your hair while you were playing, and I had a reaction. I had a full on. I saw what was going on with you. Right. And I had a full-on reaction to that. I really did. Like I started to, full anxiety attack. And I thought to myself, man, if I was in that position, I don't know what I would do. Like my first thought was, bam, I punch the guy in the nuts and tell him to leave me alone. I'm working. Now, and as a result of that, what's happened to me this last year, I've had to take almost a zero tolerance policy. When I was on stage, it was like, I'm sorry, but you can come up and talk to me, but you don't get on my stage anymore. You don't sing on my microphone anymore. I don't want you up here. I had about a year ago, I had a girl walk on stage, start doing what she did with your hair, tussling my hair, and then she reached down back and she started grabbing my ass. And I'm in the middle of a song. I'm a Rebel Yell, I think it was, and then she reached around in front and she starts tugging on my junk while I'm playing. And I just kind of like, okay, whatever. Off she goes. Well, I finished the song. There's a table in the bar. They go, come here, come here, come here. They go, that lady just sexually assaulted you on stage. And I went, what? What do you think? I didn't think about it that way, right? Well, the drive home the next day, I started to think about it. I went, you know what? There might be something to that. If I actually got up and I walked over to her and I went honk honk and man, I get my ass kicked and the cops, and it would just be a really bad scene. But it seemed to be okay when she did it. Now, that's what I want to ask you. When this is happening to you on the ship, is there a line where you think to yourself, I can't react because I'm on the ship and my contract says I have to be this way? Or is it just a case of that this stuff happens and you're used to it and you've just learned to accept it and you just let it roll? I'm curious to know your angle on this because it's been a real, mind thing for me. So I'd like to know your perspective on that, how you react. What's your situation in those places? You're right. There's a whole bunch of issues that you've hit on. There's so much. It's the Me Too movement. It's sexual assault. It's gender identification and like prejudice. And it's all these things rolled into this problem that we have as entertainers. Now, I'm a little bit odd, I found out, because at the Red Piano, we had the same problem. People didn't like people up on stage because they're in my face. I was the guy that's going, get up here, get up here. You want to touch my junk? I'll move in, because that what will freak people up more than anything is that you will respond in a more aggressive way than they're responding to you. Where the line is for me, and on the cruise ship it's there too, is when someone's going to get hurt. Like if I'm going to get my teeth knocked out by a microphone, because you've been there, people dancing and around. I've got a whole bunch of techniques for when I see people moving near my boom stand. I'm singing into my chin. There's a whole bunch of things I'm doing to protect myself. Yeah. And they're not getting it in the audience, because to me, it's always been about the fourth wall. If you break that fourth wall, you can't recover. And that's the same thing. Like the example I always use is, you've been in a bar when everything's rocking, and this happened at the Red Piano a couple of times, when everything's going great, the flow is going, everyone's great. All of a sudden the fight breaks out. That energy that people can sense, if they can't see it, they can feel it. It goes through the bar like a earthquake ripple. It comes through the bar and it destroys the mood. All of a sudden, everybody wants to go. That's the fourth wall crumbling, and all of a sudden, it's reality. So if I sit there to say to somebody, hey, you motherfucker, I'm now out of my character. My character is Keith, the piano bar guy, who's your friend who wants to play songs for you. And I'll give it, we'll go back and forth. Like you say, you want to heckle me? You better come loaded. Oh, yeah, you got
I'm not going to let you get away with it. The idea is, in those situations, to get the audience on your side. As soon as you start barking at them directly and you've broken the fourth wall, The audience is now watching the fight. They're going to take sides that aren't predictable. When you get them involved, oh, look at that fucking clown. Don't quit your day job. Do I go to your job and say, hey, do I want fries with that? All that kind of stuff, right? Costs could fly, that kind of shit. It gets the audience laughing at them. Sooner or later, unless they're completely out of it, they start to get the Fred Flintstone. They go, and they treatle away. Sometimes it takes longer to get them to do that. Now, this is another thing. This isn't the aggressive physical act. This is just the heckler starting to get in your face and starting to really start to interrupt your show. You can shut them down if you've got that sort of experience to how to get rid of this guy, because the audience is going, hey, you fucking idiot, get out of here. You're fucking things up. So you get them on your side, and then they applaud you when it's over. If a guy gets on stage and he wants to keep fucking singing and he wants to keep poking at you, I give him what I call the rock star treatment. I go, hey, great, have a seat. Give him the piano stool, and I walk away. I go to the bar and have a drink. And he's sitting there on the mic, and he has maybe 20 seconds when he starts to realize, I'm not funny. I got no talent. And the audience is sitting there going, you suck.
You suck.
And they give him, and he'll just slink off, and you won't see him again.
Yeah.
Now, here's the line that we've crossed. Someone comes up like on the cruise ship, playing with my hair. He had $100 bill in his hand. He's rubbing it on me, and he's rubbing it all over me. $100. I'm going, oh, that's kind of fun. I'm the guy that moves into it. The second if he was to the point where he was standing on the piano and he's about to fall off or hurt himself and doing stuff like that, I would have to somehow figure out a way without breaking the fourth wall. And this is where you make the money. This is where you make money on a cruise ship, is knowing how to keep it contained, keep the character going, get him safely back in his seat, have the money back in your tip jar, and have everyone in the bar go, that was fantastic fun. And that same guy is the guy who 2 nights earlier stood on the bar on one side of me and challenged the other guy to a Devil Went Down to Georgia duel, and they sang it at each other. So the history of that incident was that this guy has been part of my show all week. He crosses the line because now we're really familiar. And I don't, I'm not like the guys at the Red Piano that were really afraid of getting touched and molested. I don't know where this comes from with me, but I love being surrounded. I love it when people are all around me and they're into it. I get that feeling. When they start to get to the point where it's dangerous for them, I have to somehow figure out a way to get them back to their seat. When it's dangerous for me, I still have to find a way without breaking the wall. Now, it's not always possible. Sometimes it's an aggressive act where it happened to me in Winnipeg. I was standing on stage and I was saying, I was at one of the Lightahouski rooms, like night moves, like there's 1,000 people in the bar. And I'm making fun of Portage La Prairie, like who isn't going to make fun of Portage La Prairie?
Yeah.
I'm saying things about, how small it is and the 7-Eleven and a bunch of really nasty shit. But people are digging it. They're laughing their heads off. And I get off the stage and I walk and this girl comes towards me right away with all smiles and friendly and hauls off and hits me so fucking hard. I saw stars in my ear. I almost broke my eardrum. And I'm not on stage now. So what can I do? I'm not going to hit her.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hit a guy. I'm not going to hit anybody. I never do that. That's not a recourse.
You need your hands. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm that guy I'm going to go, well, why did I'm trying to talk to her. And she starts giving me the fucking, like, will not listen, drunk. And doesn't really want to hear what I have to say. Just has it in her head that I'm a fucking asshole. So all I'm doing is I'm moving towards the bouncers so they can see it. And the second they realize what's going on, they look after it. I don't have to get involved other than to say, I'm not here to do that job. I'm here to do the other job. And if you're offended, I mean, I'm not going to get a nice contextual letter from this lady complaining about how horrible my treatment of Portage La Prairie was. She's not going to remember it.
Yeah.
So what am I going to do about it, right? So there's points in our life. I've watched bar fights where the guitar player Al was in a fight up in Prince George, got out into the street. We were going home and somebody jumped him. I mean, I'm going to get involved there. I'm going to try to help him up because it's nothing to do with the performance guy.
Yeah.
We're going to try to make sure that nobody in the band gets killed, try our best to make sure we don't go to the wrong parties. And that was the thing back in the day. I think you probably remember that too. People would sucker you into going to parties because their girlfriend said to them, hey, I like the singer. Yep. They just wanted to get me to a party so they could, take a piece out of me.
I haven't been to a party as the Party Hog because I'm a solo act for over 20 years now because of that very reason. I ended up at one and it was like, I am in the wrong room and I am by myself. I better go now.
See, I bet you that bleeds into a lot of what you're going through too, because you understand what this could be and you've seen it. You know how bad it can get. So you could go there in your head without, like, I know people that, have not been musicians long enough to really have that experience who'll go anywhere. Hey, let's go out to the bush and party with these guys.
Yeah, boy.
Maybe not. And if you're going to do that, make sure you've got, your GPS on so we know where to pick up the body in the morning.
Are you hearing that, Danny Patuluk? You know what? Okay, now I really appreciate your insight on that. That means a lot to me, and I thank you for talking about that. I really hope somebody out there heard that. Not maybe the people in particular that did this to you or me, but just, think about it the next time you want to get on stage and like be part of the show, unless you're asked. If it's okay, do not jump up on stage. Do not, I mean,
I usually give that
to each his own, I guess. But I mean, like it can be, it
Well,
does sit on our minds a little bit after that night.
This is a really good example, Mike, because we are two different sides of this conversation too, in a way. Because I when people ask me if they want to get on stage, I'm always a yes. I don't care if I think they're absolutely going to be terrible or not. I'm hoping for the best, but I'm expecting the worst. And I'm pleasantly surprised on the cruise ships, because I say this in my show on the ships. 10% of the audience on any cruise ship can sing better than me. And if I get those people up early in the week, it becomes legendary. But there's people in the same breath that will say, I know what I'm doing. I've sang karaoke. I'm going to get up there and take the microphone. That's where the rock star treatment comes from. I let them hang themselves. I think your approach is, if you're safe, if you've got an issue with people being on stage, you have to set that boundary. You have to say to them, okay, I'm not comfortable with this. To me, I don't have to say that, because I don't care what happens. I've been through the same thing. It didn't affect me the same way. But I think musicians are all over the spectrum here. Some people, they don't want, it's a sacred place. Don't get the fuck up here under any circumstance. I don't care how good you are. Fuck off. Get off my stage.
Yeah.
And they have the right to say that, because they've earned the right to be on there featuring themselves in front of other people. And the other thing is, I just want the whole night to be about people ripping my clothes off. I'm not that guy either. There's a happy medium in here, but it's up to us as entertainers, I think, to set the boundaries however you're comfortable. To me, it's part of my opening talk when I know they're sober enough to hear it. When I'm singing, that first hour is when I set the tone. And I'm sure on almost every night I play, I mention, if you want to sing with me, this isn't karaoke. If you're going to come up here with your broke-ass screen phone and your big fucking long dagger nails with the diamonds in them, and you think you're going to fucking sing Britney, fuck you. And it's not me. It's the audience that's going to Simon Cowell your ass out of here. It's not me.
Yeah.
So, but if you can sing, if you know what you're doing and you don't need much help to get through the song, get up here and join me. And I've turned those moments into some of the most magic nights on the ship. I find staff members that one of the girls on the ship that you showed the clip from, where I'm playing Tennessee Whiskey, there's a girl on that ship from St. Lucia who sings like better than Lauryn Hill. And
I heard that, the Fuji girl.
Yes.
Oh man, was she good? Sorry, I didn't run that clip. Wow.
Once they get a hold of her on the first, I don't even let her come in on the first night, because they go, you got to let me have one night without you, because after that I can't do a show without her. Those magic moments are part of, you have to take that risk to get those moments. Because if I was that guy that said, "Hey, fuck, no one's on my show," and I know guys in piano bars that have their whole thing figured out, they don't want anyone interfering with their shit, because there might be someone who's better than me. I don't fear that. I fucking love that. And I've done everything from Elvis impersonators to sax players to guys that come up, and I get the weirdest combination of guys doing the weirdest combination of shit. But if I didn't take that risk, and it's a measured thing. If I see they're drunk and sloppy, I have to be very careful how I do it, how I bring them, and how I can get rid of them. And I think that's the secret. It's a lot of work. And that's the thing I want to impart to the audience if they're listening, is that it's a lot of work to manage a show. And if you want to be part of it, just be responsible. Don't hurt yourself and don't hurt others. And if particularly in your case, don't hurt the performer, because fuck, you're going to have to carry the show.
Yeah, dude, I honestly, the feedback we're getting, the comments that are coming in are just amazing here. This has been a great discussion. Now, this is the first time I've not only gone 2 hours with a show, I'm at 2 hours and 34 minutes. Now, I have discovered that is the limit of my camera. So I need to hit the please stand by button here and run over here for about 15 seconds and plug my battery into this camera, or you're going to lose me here in about a minute. Now, the reason I have to hit the please stand by button is because I don't want anybody out there to know that I really, truly do not wear pants when I do the show. So I'm fucking embarrassed now. I got to walk 8 feet behind me to get the battery charger. But as soon as I stand up, man, it's like, you know.
That's awesome.
Now I'm almost tempted to do it just because. Fuck it.
Fuck it. Let's go. Let's see that. That's amazing, Mike. Oh my! I'll do an interlude while you're doing that. Okay, I'll do something else. Mike's got no pants on. Such lovely legs.
My ears back in. Very sorry about that.
No pants on. But, he's got lovely legs. I was singing.
See, there you go, folks. I truly am not kidding. I am not wearing pants when I do this show, and now I can't tell. Am I in the 2-amp one or the 1-amp one? That's the 1-amp one. So,
well, I'll keep talking as long as you want. If you want to stop, you can stop, man.
It's all good, buddy. I'm plugged back in. I should have. Yeah, there we go. The blue light's back on. Thank God. Again, thank you for that part of the conversation here tonight. Honest.
I love that, man. That's great.
Man, you would not believe the comments that are coming in right now. People are just like, oh, well, actually, the comments coming in right now are about me. So, anyway, now we've had a hell of a discussion here today. And honestly, this has been my longest show, which I don't have a problem with at all because I truly love you, brother. But I gotta get to the part of the show that you know that is the show, and I gotta ask you, man, straight up. Keith Spalding, what is the best gig you have ever played?
Oh, man.
I'm curious about this. What is the number one gig that just made you go, damn?
Well, I got to say, I've had the luck to play with some pretty incredible people. And I think I'd have to do it in groups because there's not any one night that I go, oh, that's the best thing that's ever happened. It's always these moments. And I've had it as Click when Click would play on those nights when everything came together. It was like, and there's probably dozens of them. I would say that, and it happened all over the country because we played for people in Toronto at one of my favorite bars of all time, the Gasworks. After not ever playing there my whole adult life, and then we went back with Click and played there for Terry Brown and a bunch of other people that were out to see the band. And we played really well, and it was a great show, and there was label people there, and it was like, this feels like we're going to get somewhere. This feels like we're going to go. And this is like 3 blocks from where I grew up. I went to Jarvis, which was just down the street. So this was the first time in my life I had a professional, because by the time I was any good, I'd already gone out west and never came back. I came back to Toronto, and that was a real good one. I played a couple of arena shows with festivals and stuff like that, where it just sort of blurs because you don't even see the people. It's just thousands of people out there. And, Pile of Bones Day in Regina, you're playing for 10,000 people out in the park and you're playing covers, but you're playing, it's you and they're liking it. They're digging it. I get that. Vancouver, every time we played Vancouver, we played Frams or the Metro or Club Soda, and especially Club Soda, because Club Soda, you'd never know who's going to be there. Yeah. One night it's Michael Hutchins. Next night it's Billy Idol's band.
Jimmy Page for me.
Yeah. Jimmy Page. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. See, that was what we had one night, which was I was leading up to this, is probably the most fun I've ever had. It's probably what an asshole I was too, because remember back then I was the biggest asshole. We played Club Soda one night, and on stage we have Greg Bijanet. He's with David Lee Roth.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. We have Tony Levin playing bass from Peter Gabriel's band.
Holy shit.
And I'm on stage. We're doing Zeppelin stuff or something like that. And the guys from Poison are tugging at my sleeve going, hey, can we get up? And I go, I don't think so.
Yes!
I don't think you're going to know these songs, fellas. You should maybe go sit down and watch this.
Man.
And there was like probably a dozen nights at Club Soda that were like that, where we had people that were from the recording industry in Vancouver at Little Mountain, and everyone who's in the know would know what I'm talking about back then. And there will never be anything like that again. There will never be that scene where you've honed your craft, and people are going to come and they want to hang out with you and play with you and stuff like that. Everything is great. And the other thing that I really enjoyed playing was I was the Dave Pallett. I was at his wedding, and Sarah McLaughlin was there, and with her band, and they got up and played the jam. I played a song for Dave for his wedding, and Dave was our sound man for a long time, and was Sarah McLaughlin's sound man forever. He's with Chris Isaac now. All of our crew guys became famous. They got in famous bands. Everybody, like we're talking Bryan Adams, Bare Naked Ladies. You name the bands that are on the radio, and it's all of our crew guys ended up gigs with them. So it was good to play that. And the Sarah McLaughlin band got up. We did like Rock and Roll by Zeppelin, all this great rock and roll stuff. There's a whole bunch of those in my life. And then when it came to the piano bar stuff, it's like I have probably on Carnival cruise ships and Royal Caribbean cruise ships had those nights where it's magic. 300 people, all on vacation. They're there to have fun from 9 o'clock till 3 in the morning. And I can't stop playing. I just want to keep going because they're, okay, now we're going to do Pink Floyd. Then we're going to do Zeppelin. Then we're going to do Boston. Then we're going to go do some rap. It's like, I can't even tell you which one is the best. I just, I'm lucky enough to play music almost my entire adult life with other jobs in between, but I've been able to do it for a living for 45 years. So, yeah.
Hasn't that been a blessing?
Oh, it is,
brother, like
it is. It's not a right. That's for sure. And it's one of those things. It's a privilege to be able to do this for a living. And I don't think people understand that, man.
Well, let's flip the script. Let's go to the dark side now. Yeah. What's the worst gig, buddy? What is absolutely the worst gig that you have ever played?
Well, that Nippigan gig where we had to stop the song so they could take the shot on the pool table. That was up there. Yeah. And there was a couple of other ones where we had some bad experiences in the day where we were supposed to play the Olympics in Calgary. We were supposed to be playing at Frankie and Johnny's. And we were in Edmonton the week before, and we'd phoned down and we'd said, where are our rooms? Because we figured there's going to be a problem with rooms because Calgary, if you remember, nobody could get rooms.
I was playing in that week. Yeah, I had to stay at friends' places. Yeah. Yeah,
and we were supposed to play in the the South Side, right? And we'd phoned down and said, well, we used to get 5 rooms. That was always a fight. Getting 5 rooms was always on our contract, but they'd always try to cheap out. Because we used one room as a recording room. We pull all the beds down against the wall and put in our recording shit. And we'd have one room just for that. So 4 of us would all get our own rooms, and the crew would have to bunk up if we can get the 5th room, and sometimes the 6th room. So we phoned down and they said, well, there's no rooms for you. So we said, hey, fuck you, we're not coming. Well, that turned into a lawsuit where they were sued us for loss of revenue and a whole bunch of other. They come at us for like $100 and something thousand worth of losses. And we were going to countersue for our $7,000. So our agent said, even if you win this, you're not going to make any money. You're going to spend that in legal fees times 10. And if you lose this, you're going to lose $100,000 because they can prove that during Calgary's, during the Olympics or the Stampede or any of those big events, you're going to have problems. Not, telling them that they're crazy that they've inflated the number. So we ended up bargaining back and forth, and we ended up getting this. We went down there and we ended up sort of playing it, with we got a couple of rooms out of them, but the whole settlement was in our favor. They said, well, okay, to make this all go away, you're going to have to play here at least 10 times this year. Okay. Wow. So we sort of got, and they said, you can only play in our rooms when you come to town, but anytime you want to come down here, we have to put you up. And we have to put you in so we played probably way too much. So every 3 weeks we were down there going, hey, sure, okay. I feel bad about this. But I really started to not enjoy that really heavy crowd, like Windsor in Red Deer.
The Red Deer, yeah.
And those kind of gigs were just a little too rough because we weren't doing that kind of music. We weren't doing Steppenwolf, and we weren't doing the biker stuff. We were doing Queen and Rush and stuff. And some people loved it.
Elton John, yeah.
I start the third set with me and the piano doing an Elton John thing, right? And that never went over in those rooms. So those gigs were always tough, the really rough rooms. But there was probably, by the time we got to the point where we were playing Vancouver and touring like we never had bad gigs. There was always something to look forward to, because if it was just the money at the end of the week, it was always, pretty good. So
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I mean, God.
Yeah.
Here I was in a band, it was like, I'll have a bowl of soup and can I have 10 packs of crackers, please? What? It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I have like chicken soup oatmeal. I'll have that, and it'd be like $2.50, but I'm full for the day, right? Like,
Yeah. I'll have the pine float, a glass of water with a toothpick in it.
oh God, this is not one of my, God. Well, she looks like she might have a full fridge at home.
Well, in the early days when you had to learn a song and there was not, you had to get someone had the record. Okay,
Yep.
Are you going to go home with her? She has the record. And you'd sit there with your little tape deck and a tape, and you'd sit there and wait for it to come on the radio.
Yeah.
Okay. One for the team, boys.
Well, that was it. It was always be like, oh well, hey, she's got the full fridge. Hey man, don't forget about us. Like,
Bring something back.
Can you get her to make us have the band over? We could all have a barbecue on Saturday. And sure enough, it was like barbecue Saturday. We got the band over at her house. Like, oh, that's great. You guys are awesome.
Well,
We're also broke, but thanks for feeding us.
I'm really glad that they didn't have cameras, but like they do now back then. Because think of all of the incriminating shit that we used to get into, and how many times you see the band guys walk into the hotel with their luggage and their dancer girlfriends with their little dogs and their little coming in behind them, 6,000 outfits, and they have.
Half of the guys were musicians, but their other job was professional suitcase roadie for their stripper girlfriend.
Yes,
she's the one paying all the bills.
Yeah. And could you walk the dog? Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Can I smoke a joint? Will I do it? Can I roll some hash up and go? Like, oh my God! All right, but what's the craziest? What's the craziest one you got, man?
Oh, so many things I could say, but I have to be.
You can change the names. It's good, Change the names, locations. Just the details are more important than the.
Well, it was always stuff to do with we played a place called the Black Knight in Winnipeg. It was out by the airport. It was a great little rock. Kick-Axe would play there. Like, it was a fairly well-known heavy room. But the hotel was a motel right beside. They had a hotel, but they wouldn't put the bands in the hotel. They put them in the motel. So we'd have 6 or 7 rooms in a row on the motel with, you could drive up to the door and you can get in. So it's like, I think it's New Year's Eve, something like that around. This is one of those gigs where it's an important one, and we did really well there. So it was always busy. So the band decides we're going to just do some acid. I think it's a really good idea. So the whole band decides to, drop some acid. And I remember sitting, it's a 24-hour, it's a mishmash of all kind. We're drinking too much and we're having fun. I hear this noise next door and I can't identify what it is. And it's banging on the walls. It's singing. It's all kinds. There's a party going on. It's wintertime. I go and knock on the door, open the door, and a cloud of mist, moist water comes out like Niagara Falls. They had put towels around all the doors and windows, turned the hot water on and made a sound. They're all sitting there in towels, waiting for, to get to some point there. The place was like a sauna, like a Greek sauna.
No
and they're all
way.
sitting around on the bed in towels. And we're all high on acid and we're fucking seeing all kinds of things. So our road crew at the time is like a couple of fellas that were, questionable. Didn't do a police background check. Let's put it that way. And they were, the smoke clearers and everything that we wake up in the morning and there's girls around and I don't remember who's with who and everything, but they have a car. So the road crew decides, hey, just keep her here and don't let her look out the window. They take her car and they go into the parking lot and they basically do donuts for half an hour, still higher than.
Holy
so
shit,
they put the car back. The car is smoking and they come back into the room and they go, the girls are getting dressed and go, hey, here you go. And they go back to the car. It's like the tires are flat.
Oh my God.
So that night, this is the crazy part of the story. That night, we're going to play the gig. I walk out of my hotel room, and right in front of me, this older couple's getting out of the car. This guy goes down. He's about 95 years old. Goes straight down on his back in the parking lot. He's having a heart attack, and I'm the only guy other than his 95-year-old wife who's around. So I have to give this guy mouth to mouth. I have to get his heart going. I'm dressed like I'm going to hit the stage in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, I'm giving the guy mouth to mouth, I'm pumping his chest, and I have some basic remembrance of how to do this. And he's not coming around. And I'm saying, phone, go get a phone. There was no cell phone. It's like, go phone somebody. I'm on this guy for 20 minutes. He's saliva everywhere. I'm mouth to mouth with this guy, like trying to get him back. The paramedics finally show up and pull me off the guy, and the guy passes away, and I go play New Year's Eve. High on acid. Yeah. That was one of those nights where
Jesus.
why did I leave medical school?
Like,
that was a good one.
So I guess the first song you played when you got back in was what was this?
Close to the heart.
I hope that's coming through.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, it is. There we go.
I was going to play Closer to the Heart.
Closer.
Ouch. Ouch.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
That is now, man. Again, I'm coming up on the 3-hour thing, and I still haven't hit the last little thing I wanted to show everybody out here. I saw you do this show about 2 years ago. It was at the Mayfield Dinner Theater. The 2 Good Nights.
Oh, I love that show.
That was you doing Elton John.
Yes.
And brother, I got to tell you, man. Me and the wife went there and watched you play, and it was truly a magical evening to see. To not only, I mean, we love going to the dinner theater there. We love seeing the shows there.
Yeah.
But to see you, that I know you, I've worked with you, a friend of mine, and to see you doing that was a real treat for me. And it was, you did such a fucking great job on it too, man. Was that a good experience? I mean, obviously a good paying.
Well,
I shouldn't say that, but just a good job, like.
Well, I was a friend of mine, Kevin, who was one of the writers. I've known Van Wilmot since the Terrace days, because he was the piano player up in the lounge, and we used to play the basement at the Terrace Inn. Do you remember the Terrace?
Yeah. The King's Head Pub.
So, yeah, well, no, in the basement of the Terrace Inn,
okay.
Rock Bar, which was sort of the companion bar to the CI South. Remember?
Oh, that's right. That's
right. It was a great gig, and the Pat Tarbox was running it, and all those great old guys that from the old days. And upstairs, Van Wilmot was playing the piano, and I sort of got to know him. And my wife, Christy, knows him very well. And he was always one of those musical guys that I thought, well, he's the real deal. He can score. He knows everything about music. He's really a good piano player, great piano player, great musician. So fast forward years later, he's got this idea for 2 Good Nights with Tom Jones and Elton John, because they did the Queen's Jubilee together. It was a germ of an idea, and Dabsy, which is the guy that co-wrote it with him, played drums with me and Dave and Todd in the what's that pub at the Argyle called? I forget.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
well,
I know we
did a bunch of gigs together, and Todd would get the gig, and Todd plays guitar and sings, and Dave Ferguson, he's also not with us anymore. He would play guitar, and I would join with keyboards, and sometimes Dabsy would come in, and he told me about this idea that he had for this, like they're writing this Elton John thing. Would I be interested? And I said, oh man, for sure. So fast forward, I'm on a cruise ship, and Van phones me and says, we're doing this. This is when it starts. Do you want to do it? I said, oh, absolutely. And I had no idea what to expect, because I'd only seen a couple of shows over the years, and some of them were just plays with no music. Some of them were music. And he invited me down to see the show, and I thought, this is really great. And I don't know how they put this together, but it seems like they got sceneries, they got sound guys, they got lighting people. And I met them for the first time and went, everyone in this fucking room is an all-star what they do. And tell you, from the moment I walked in there, the first minute I played with them, total pros. Everyone knew what they were doing, and everyone was really good at what they did. Van talked me through a bunch of stuff I didn't like. He schooled me on some of the Elton John stuff. I thought I knew this stuff, but I'd been playing it piano bar style for so long and so wrong and so fast. He calmed me down, got me sort of into the vibe of the whole thing. The guy that played Tom Jones was phenomenal. He was amazing.
He did a great job.
Yeah. And he's another veteran of the Mayfield, right?
He does all the shows out there. He does a great job at them. And Tom Jones has always been one of my favorite vocalists, and he did a great job on that. Yeah.
And I start, when we first start putting it together, I'm Harley Symington on guitar, and Jen on keyboards and vocals, and Derek on bass, and Hoy on drums.
Steve Hoy on drums, damn, yeah.
This is a dream band, and we've got we've got all kinds of people on stage that know what they're doing and are really great at what they're doing. And when I sit down at my piano and I listen to what they're doing, I'm in the record. It's like every night I'm playing, if I'm doing Rocket Man, I'm in the studio listening to exactly what Elton John was playing to when he did it. That's how good it was. Jeez. And when I did Yellow Brick Road, the whole thing, when I got up on stage and I had to do the fancy white outfit, and I had to do the sort of the really exploratory Elton John stuff with the weird costumes and the glasses. Their backstage people got me dressed in 25 seconds from, it was, everything about it was just phenomenal. But what really sort of rang for me was that this is where I came from. I started with Yellow Brick Road. I was the guy that sat in my basement and had to learn this chord progression. It took me, and now I'm doing it on stage. I'm listening to the same thing I listened to as a kid, and it's exactly like it was in my head. And I'm Elton John. I get to play this, and people are fucking watching me, and they're not drinking and partying and rubbing $100 bills on my cock. They're actually sitting there listening to this. And I got a little bit carried away. I'm sure that's probably why I haven't been invited back, because a lot of that stuff that I did in the middle was ad-libby. I would talk to the audience. I was given this little, you've got 20 seconds, but I would sometimes take 2 and 3 minutes. The stage manager, I think she fucking hated me, I'm sure. I was playing songs that weren't in the script, and the band would have to follow me, and I'd make mistakes, and it was like I was the weakest link in that armor. But I've never had so much fun. I've never had a musical experience like that. That's one of those things where you go, this is rewarding because of where I come from. I don't think I could do, like, these guys do all kinds of shows. They do 50s stuff, they do soul stuff, they do revivals, they do just plays, they do everything. This niche is my niche because I've been playing this stuff forever, and I got schooled on how to do it. And I'll never forget, and I'll never be able to thank them enough for because it brought me back to playing that music again properly. I play Elton John almost like it's supposed to, instead of too fast in the wrong key or whatever it is. And these guys were, I would kill for that experience again. I just don't know what I would do there, because I couldn't hold their water. Every single one of those guys can read, can improvise, can solo, can sing. It's phenomenal.
Don't sell yourself short, buddy. I mean, like, your Elton John tone. I mean, like, I've heard you sing a lot, and you were, people don't understand that mimicking, that impersonation that goes along with a lot of singing and stuff. It's like Rich Little, and used to impersonate John Wayne and all these guys. There is a certain element to that in vocal singing, and that, like, I personally am, I lean towards David Coverdale. I do Bryan Adams well. I can do Joe Elliott well, that kind of thing. You always did Elton John well, but when I heard you do Elton John before, it was a great job on it. But man, when I saw you on the show, it was like, Jesus, wow. He's tweaked the tone, and he's got the tone right. And there were certain phrasings that you did that were just like, I sit there going, Jesus, man, he's just fucking nailing it here. This is great.
The thing, though. You're in that room, in those rehearsal rooms where everything's marked out on the floor, and your part is you're up, and you're listening to everyone who's copped. That's the right bass tone. That's exactly the right hi-hat thing. Hoy would have to slow me down on, like, Rocket Man is this fast. It's like that. I play it like this. I'm a rocket. That's the piano part.
Rocket Man.
So every single night I played that, Steve would give me this count on the hi-hat, because I started on my own. I started like this. And if I'm too fast, when Steve comes in, he has to go, and I'd have to listen to him. And he was always really subtle about bringing me where I needed to be. These guys are, I can't even describe to you the pro in these. It's so amazing to play like that. I wish that was, if that was my career arc, I would have loved to end up doing just that for the rest of my life. piano bars are fun and everything, but I'm getting to the age where doing 4.5 hours and drinking every night for 6 hours.
Yeah, I know that
I
feeling,
ain't gonna
brother.
do that forever.
Yeah, yeah. It's like if you can do a 45 to an hour show and sleep in your own bed every night. That's really something
Man.
special to have and to have that experience on stage. Now I just got to ask you one last question. What was it like when you put the wig on the first time?
Well, they had they had a great costume guy who
Yeah.
I was, I just let them go with whatever they felt. I didn't really kick in on any of this stuff because I thought, well, they know what they're doing. I don't know what it's going to look like. When I saw the white outfit for the first time on me and I saw myself on stage in it, I kind of went, yeah, these guys know what they're doing. The feathers and all that shit and I got to feel the part. I guess that's what actors go through. Because when you're in it, you really can do it. Like I felt like I could be Elton John. And I see guys in the piano bar thing all the time put the fucking glasses on, the stupid fucking hat, and they still sing it in the wrong key and they sing it too fast. I go, that's not like that. This is like it's an all-inclusive kind of deal with that kind of show. And I think the Mayfield it's a gem. It's been going for how many years there? Like,
oh Jesus,
yeah.
20 years that I can recall. Yeah. I mean, I've been to probably about a dozen shows in the last 7 years now, and good meal as well too.
Yeah, it's a good feed.
Good feed. Usually it's an expensive night because I'm the designated driver, and all the ladies at my table are like, "Hey, we're there." So this show's great, and then we got to hang around because my wife likes to talk to Harley. She's a friend of Harley's, so he's got to come over and say hi and stuff too. And then I'm like, "Hey, Steve." He's like, he just won't look at me. Pro all the way, like, yeah, Braniff, I see you out there, like, Jesus. Yeah, that's awesome. Brother, we've hit 3 hours. This is unprecedented. I've never even hit 2, but we hit 3, and it still doesn't even feel like you and I have been talking for 3 hours. This is nuts. And, I mean,
I appreciate it, man.
Well, I mean, like, Greta's got something to say about it.
How dare you?
There we go. And I got one more here for you too as well. Oh, what happened there? We didn't get the audio. Wow, whatever. It's me half cut before the show starts, putting things in there wrong.
How much blacker could it be? And the answer is
none more black. Keith, it's been a real treat to talk to you tonight. I mean, it's been as much of a treat to talk to you tonight and have you be a part of the show as it was a treat for me to stand there halfway through with or without you. When I'm playing away in the Joint Chiefs, and I just look to my right and I go, that's him.
Oh, man.
That's fucking him,
awesome.
man. Like, what am I doing here? Like, God, man. I just it was a pleasure to work with you. It's been great knowing you as a friend over the years as well too. Say hi to your lovely wife Christy for me.
Will do.
And you take great care of yourself. Anything you want to say before we go here tonight?
Yeah, keep watching this guy. You're great at this. I want you to keep doing this, and also go see him play. If you've never seen this guy play, he's the best. So we'll keep in touch, man. We'll make sure we do it. Come on the cruise ship with me sometime.
Oh,
We'll double meatloaf those bastards.
oh my God! Do you get your own room on the ship?
Yeah, that would be a non-starter for me because no, that's you. I don't speak Filipino, so I would never get along with. So
I got offered a cruise ship gig. I think it was about 2006. An agency in Vancouver offered me. Short story long, one of their lower agents on the thing went around and called out every gig I did and says, "Hey, I know this guy who's just like the Party Hog, but he's way better." And all my bar managers called me and goes, "Who's this clown in Vancouver that's throwing you under the bus?" I go, "Well, that's my fucking agent." So I called my agent up and I go, "What are you doing?" And I go, "This is slander." And he goes,
Yeah.
"Oh, well, it is." And I go, "Yeah, it is." I said, "I'll get a hold of a lawyer, and we'll be in touch soon." And about an hour later, the head of the company calls me up, and he goes, "Oh, I'm really very sorry about this. I've reprimanded this agent, this employee. He won't be representing you anymore. But to make it up to you, we'd like to offer you this gig on a cruise ship that we've got." And I went, "Yeah, sounds great. I hear that's a great deal, right?" Kind of thing. And the guy goes, "Yeah, well, it's in 2 weeks." And I go, "Well, I'm playing in Fort Mac and then Grand Prairie, and then I'm going to BC after that." "Oh, you can just cancel those, can't you?"
No.
No. And the other thing is that you're gonna have to. They told me I had to cut my hair.
Wow.
They said I had to cut my hair. I had to share a room, and
Yeah, that's no go.
and I also couldn't, participate in any of my doobie things or any of that kind of, or you're dumped off at the next port and on your way home on your own dime kind of thing. And I told the agent, I said, "Well, I could get a gig in jail. At least I'll get weed and I'll
I'll get fucked.
I'll get fucked, like whatever kind of thing." That's exactly it. And then it dawned on me. I went, "Wait a sec. This gig is in 2 weeks. You don't have a guy for this gig. You're missing a." I went, so this is the carrot you dangle in front of me to keep me out of the lawsuit. We got a cruise ship gig, but it truly is. You just need a warm body to fill that contract up, is what it was.
Wow.
So fuck. That was my last gig in Vancouver, man. That was it. I never played there again after that.
Wow. Well, you do great on cruise ships, but the money's not great unless you make good tips. And those single guys that do guitar and vocals, they don't make very much money. So it's a good starter gig because you'll get your chops up. It's what we used to do going to school in the old days when you get lots of gigs, but you weren't getting paid, but you certainly get your craft figured out. And on that, you're 6 nights a week, and you're in front of people that you have. There's a lot for them to do on a cruise ship, especially the big ones. They can go 60 different places, theaters, water shows. If you can hold a crowd, you can get to the point where you're making okay money, and the tips can be, really good. But you're not when you're going up to Fort Mac, you're making better money. So,
well, there was a time in the early '90s there I got offered the Meatloaf job for some touring company or whatever, and they were out of Vegas. And actually, I met up with them when they were working at the Mayfield Dinner Theater. They were doing a Tina Turner and a Neil Diamond and a Garth Brooks, and they were like, "We need a Meatloaf." And somebody mentioned me, and they came down and checked me out and stuff. And I was like, "Yeah, they do a demo tape." And
right.
Well,
there's big. The thing is that the sort of the carrot they dangle for you if you're a cruise ship entertainer that does the regular bar scene is you can become what they call a special guest artist, and you can fly in. That's the cream of the cream. You make great money. You have a theater show, but you've got to get charts and costumes. You have to have 45 killer minutes. And you can jump from ship to ship. You can be on a ship for a week, and then you go to another ship for 4 weeks, and then you keep doing this, and you make great bank. But you have to have a show that people want to see. Like I was going to take a version of Two Good Nights and try to work it out with Van to do a theater version where we'd have the first half would be 1 45-minute show, and then they'd come back for the 9 o'clock and do the Elton John part and sort of amalgamate the two. But the logistics of that is that because these guys that play on the cruise ships can read anything, but you got to have the charts that are exactly right. And that costs a huge amount of money. And costuming, you have to work with the text. You got to get all that stuff going. But it's a great, that's something I'm still working on. I got a theater idea, which is, I've seen enough of them that are really bad. A lot of hypnotists, a lot of guys with, the weirdest one was a guy dressed in gaucho pants with a bullwhip, played flamenco guitar as a start very badly, but on a chair with a flamenco guitar. He's telling these really bad jokes in an accent that you can't really understand what he's saying. But then this big finale, he's cracking this bullwhip and he's breaking balloons and stuff like that. It's like, this is a show? Okay. Anyway, I'll let you go, man. We could talk all night.
Take care. Man, we could. I love you, and thanks again, buddy. It's been a real treat. My guest tonight has been Keith Retson-Spalding, a singer, pianist, entertainer, all around great guy, and you can catch him
survivor.
On COVID survivor. Don't forget that, kids. Wear your fucking masks. And
hang on a sec.
There we go. Here we go, dude.
5G. You're safe now.
And one more thing, if you happen to be on a cruise ship and Keith is working don't fucking touch him.
No, touch me.
Don't touch him. You know,
Touch me.
No, he wants you to touch him. Just for me. Just for me. Don't touch him.
Drop $100 bill on me anywhere you want. I don't care.
Oh God! Thanks
See you,
again, man. It's been a real pleasure, and you take care of yourself. Again, say hi to Christy for me. All right, you take care, brother.
Thanks, man. Have
Peace
a good
and
night.
love, man. You too.
See you,
buddy.
everybody.
Good
Bye-bye.
night. Wow. That's killer. All right, let's leave the room there. There we go. Now I can hear myself again. It's weird. You can't hear myself when I'm in the chat room, but I'm speaking. I guess I don't need to. Folks, I don't even know what to say here. 3 hours and 9 minutes, coming up on 3 hours and 10 minutes. Thank you so very much for sticking with me for the entire show here tonight. I got to pee like crazy, so I'm just going to say good night, guys. Peace and love, and thank you very, very much for tuning into the Road Story Show here tonight. Oh, I got to pee. See you next week. My guest is Dave Williams, Crazy Dave from Renegade Eye. Tune in next Monday.